Chapter 1 1942 The Beginning of Romance. On the home from Belford, New Jersey, Mom and Dad have met recently and have had 2 dates. April 3, 1942. Dear Mary, I'll bet you are a little surprised to hear from me. You're much too nice a young lady to be strung along, so I kept my promise to write to you. I hope everything is okay in your town. My town is 41 miles away from your area. I checked the distance when I was driving home. On Sunday, I went to a dance in Highland Park, New Jersey using the bus. I danced with a girl from your area who says she knows you by looks only. I forgot her name, but she did say you are a very nice girl. I agreed with her 100%. I expect to come over to see you on Sunday if that is okay with you. I have met many other girls, but in my book, you are the tops. We seem to have a lot in common. We both like dancing. We're both 23 years old and we're both Polish. I like you and I think you feel the same. Enclosed is a picture of me, and I would like to have a picture of you. I want to show some of my friends what a charming person you are. I listen to the radio, and when I hear the song, The Three Little Sisters, I always think of you and your sisters. This isn't the only time I picture you in my mind. I have a personal mailbox, so I will be the only one receiving any letters you might like to write to me. I hope you will be home Sunday, for it might be my last chance to see you before the ration board cuts my gas allotment. I have a feeling Uncle Sam might be calling on me this month. I will close my note now with a hope you can find the time to write to me, even if it is a card. My box is number 2, Belford, New Jersey. I think you are a very nice girl, and I hope we will have some time to get to know each other. Love, Johnny. On the home front of Manville, New Jersey, Mom and Dad are already attracted to each other. June 3, 1942. Hello, Johnny. I came home from work, and before I could even walk in the door, I heard my sister Jenny yelling. She was leaning out the window and saying, "Hurry up, I have something for you." I was so surprised to receive 2 letters. I also got 2 letters yesterday, so I guess I am becoming very popular. I was sorry to hear the news about your town becoming too lonely. I can say the same about this town of ours. The only thing that keeps this town rolling is the Polish-American home. We do have a roller skating rink and a few sociable drinking places, but the Polish-American home is the most popular. Maybe Sunday when you come to my house, we'll take a ride and I can show you some of these places. Say, big boy, you better stop praising me so much. I might take your comments seriously. Oh, Johnny, the beautiful flowers you brought me are decorating our dining room table. I could get a nervous breakdown screaming at everyone to stop touching them when they walk in the room. Mother made me laugh by saying, "Gosh, Mary, I think I'll have to get a new dining room set to match these lovely flowers." Love, Mary. On the home from Belford, New Jersey, Dad has enjoyed 3 dates with Mom and is already in love. However, he tells her he still expects to be called by Uncle Sam very soon. June 10, 1942. Dear Mary, I don't need anyone to remind me of you. Please believe me when I tell you my feelings toward you do it for me. I've shown your picture to my mom and she thinks you are just grand. I certainly enjoyed myself on our 2 dates. I never had a better time in my life. I only existed for 22 years, but after meeting you, I really lived. After seeing you on our 3rd date, I'm even more assured than ever that you are my type. By the way, I will know if I have to go into the army this month. I will hear about it in the next few days, for the next bunch of guys are due to go on the 20th of this month. This will give me plenty of time to think everything over, but I'm sure I will still feel the same about you. You and I are meant for each other. There is always a chance I may not pass the physical exam, for I have heart trouble. However, my type of trouble has never gotten anyone a deferment. I think you know what I mean. I hope you don't think I have been too serious about my feelings for you, but my time is getting short. It is very hard not to let your feelings show without sounding too serious, especially if they are strong. I think you know how strong my feelings are for you. You certainly had a hard time getting rid of me the last time we were together. I would like to take you to a dance before I go into the army. I enjoy dancing with you very much. I want to be able to have this important memory in my mind while I am away. I would like to come over to see you Wednesday night. We could go to the movies. Don't worry about gas for my car. I can get any amount if I have a good reason. I know you're the best reason I could have. It only takes 3.5 gallons round trip. You know, dear, when I start writing, I get to a point where my feelings for you take over me. Sure, there are a lot of nice girls around, but none like you. You have everything a fellow like me hopes and dreams he could find in a girl. There isn't anything in the world I wouldn't do for you. As I might have said before, you could only come to one conclusion. I am either the biggest liar in the world handing you a line of bull, or I really feel this way about you from the bottom of my heart. I can assure you my feelings are genuine. I know it's the real thing, for I feel it in my mind and heart. I heard a large group of boys from the Army Air Corps were sent to Camp Kilmer in Edison, New Jersey. It's a possibility I may be sent there too. It is a staging area and processing center for troops who will be sent to various training camps around the United States. I know for sure that in the near future, I will be heading for overseas service where we will be experiencing summer weather. A bunch of us turned in all our heavy clothing, for we won't be seeing much of winter for a while. I don't know when I will hear about this, but I will let you know when I am certain. I wonder what my mother is thinking about me now. I'm hoping she has gotten over me being away from home. She took my absence so hard. But I will try to write to her and Pop as much as I can. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom tries to depend on her brother to pick up the mail and finds out Dad wrote to her, but her brother forgot to give her the letter until late in the evening. June 14, 1942. Dear Johnny, you may have more or less thought I forgot about you. Well, I haven't. Friday night after school, my brother went to the post office and received your letter. He put it in one of his homework books and forgot about it. When he started his homework late at night, he saw the letter and finally handed it to me. I was able to do any writing at the time, for I had a few guests in my house. Finally, I am answering your letter tonight, and it will be mailed tomorrow. Therefore, we better put our Wednesday evening date aside, because you may not receive this letter until Wednesday or maybe Thursday. If you still want to go out dancing at the Polish-American home on Sunday, I would be happy to go with you. The dance doesn't start until 8:30 p.m. If you can come earlier, we'll go for a walk, not a ride. That will save you a little gas. I was sorry to hear about that bunch of fellows you know leaving their homes to go into the army so soon. You might be included as well. Please, Johnny, don't leave without coming to see me. Love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific War Front in Miami Beach, Florida, Dad has been inducted into the Army and is now stationed in Miami Beach, Florida. June 16, 1942. Dear Mary, enclosed you will find a picture of a person that looks like someone who could be used to scare the neighbors' kids. It works, for I have tried it myself. Also, I don't want you to forget me, so I thought having a picture would help. The Army has taken over all the hotels in Miami Beach, Florida. We must stay in a total blackout at night so no enemies can figure out where we are located. I'm trying to write this letter partly by flashlight. The nights are swell here, so we all go to the top of the building. This is where we tell bedtime stories and jokes. We sing songs and most of the boys wear bathing suits. It's a famous hotel, but I am not permitted to tell you the name. There are about 90 men to each girl here. I often sit and watch them go by arm in arm. I think to myself, boy, would I like to have Mary here beside me. I try to prevent myself from feeling too low by taking a walk, but it's tough. I live in a nice room with a fellow who has been married for 2 years. He is giving me the lowdown on married life. It sounds very nice if the two people involved understand each other's feelings. This little note could come in handy someday. I have a little poem for you. It's night now. What a beautiful moon. It is a shame, darn it, anyhow. Don't think I'm complaining. I'm just explaining. Just keep smiling and always be gay, for I am not going away to stay. Each morning I get up with a smile and say, good morning to your profile. I can't be dreaming, for my eyes are open and gleaming. Here I sit alone, memories pass through my dome. Clouds may gather in the sky, but there is a sunny day to follow. For every sadness, there are hearts of gladness. At night when we get hungry, we climb to a coconut tree and have a great meal of coconuts. They sure taste good. This place is full of palm trees, and the water is so clear you can see down to the bottom. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Miami Beach, Florida, Dad thought something was wrong, or he might have said something to hurt Mom's feelings. Was this the reason he wasn't receiving any mail for the past 2 weeks? He got a letter and was assured everything was fine. He tells Mom about the hot water and the training the Army is giving their troops to get in shape. June 20, 1942. Dear Mary, you will never know how I felt when I received your very interesting letter. After waiting in line 3 times a day for the past 2 weeks, it was great to hear from you. I was feeling very blue, but your letter sure fixed that. For a while, I thought something was wrong or I said something to hurt your feelings. When I found out it was quite the opposite, I was so relieved. It's so hot here all day long. We drill 4 hours a day and it's about 98 degrees in the shade. There were 400 boys taken off the field in the afternoon because of the heat. Almost every day, a couple hundred boys pass out, and this includes the big shots. Everyone gets so hot and weak. They simply faint from exhaustion. Most of the time, we stand at attention. This means both feet together and no moving, even if a bug bites you. The Army isn't as easy as most civilians think of it. Most people think it's only waking up and down in a uniform. All branches of the Army give military training like I am currently receiving. I must say, the sensation a soldier gets when marching to the music in front of some big shot sure is something. It makes you proud and gives you a lump in your throat. You feel really happy to be an American. In other words, you could be marching in about 100 different ways to suit many different situations. For instance, there could be a parade or a training exercise. While we were parading in front of the general, his boss, and the entire United States Army Corps, we had to take our shirts off for about 3 hours. Most of the boys got sunburned badly. Boy, do some of the guys drink here until they are broke. Today, a fellow fell out of a 4th-story window at about 4 a.m. He died about 2 hours later. None of that for me. I intend to stay sober and alert. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Miami Beach, Florida, Dad explains the rigorous routine the Army expects the guys to follow. June 22, 1942. Dear Mary, the only complaint I have about the Army Air Corps is it's too far from Manville, New Jersey. Also, they get us up at 4 a.m. to eat and exercise. This is how the Army gets us in shape. We rush out at 4 a.m., wearing only our skivvies for inspection. We get 8 minutes to shave, put on a dress outfit, shine your shoes, and take a shower. The next thing is walking up 5 stories to stand for inspection by some general. After all this, they inform you that you are to guard the hotel from 4 a.m. until daybreak. Luckily, we're able to sleep again. When one can finally go to sleep, they usually call a fire drill about a half hour after you start dreaming about your favorite girl. After we awaken, we march 28 blocks back to the hotel. All the boys put on their bathing suits and march once again for about 10 blocks. This is when we get our warm-up exercises, as if we aren't warm yet, which takes about an hour. Most of us are boiling by this time, and good and God tired. They let us take a free swim, and what a struggle it is to keep afloat because of our fatigue. We march out to a drill field 28 blocks away. Then we drill for about 3 hours. Then we march back 28 blocks to get our mail and eat. Oh boy, a letter from Mary. We rest for 15 minutes and continue to march 28 blocks to drill some more. Usually this takes 2 hours. We then stop and listen to a lecture by some stiff shirt. By this time, most of us are all put to sleep by it all. At about 6 a.m., they inform you that due to your high skill level, you were selected after much deliberation by all parties concerned to be on KP for today. The theme song we sing now is The Pots and Pans Will Fly Over Tokyo when the 354 gets there. We work 17 hours straight on KP, so when we are finished, we return to the hotel. Upon arriving, we are kindly told that our room, or even worse, our hotel, has been changed. At this point, We must move out of a clean room into a dirty one, mostly located on the 5th floor. There are no elevators, so we must climb the stairs. I wanted to show you how the army works. There's a right way to do something, and there is the army way. Even though there is a distance of 1,653 miles and 42 feet between me from Suite U, I cannot forget you. The miles were measured by one of my friends who was a map maker before the war. I can't wait until we can be together again. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War front in Miami Beach, Florida, Dad was very happy to hear from Mom. He's not impressed with Florida as it is too hot. He has been classified as a radio man due to his mark on the skills test in Fort Dixon, New Jersey. June 24, 1942. Dear Mary, I received your letter and was glad to hear from civilization again. Florida is all right, but as far as I'm concerned, they can give it back to the Indians. It's too hot for one thing, and they sure are getting tough with us. I never knew the army was so strict. They even tell you how to tie your shoes. I have been classified as a radio man because of my mark on the test I took at Fort Dixon, New Jersey. I will get basic training and then get sent to an airfield. I am feeling very good and my health has improved. My disposition would be greatly improved by a young girl I know back home. She's very good medicine for the body as well as the heart. I now have a fellow with me who has the same heart trouble as me in love, but far away. We've had a great time thinking about ways to heal ourselves. We came to a conclusion that if the cause of our heart trouble lived closer to our camp, we might be cured. You can stop worrying about the heat, for my training days are over. Thank goodness. I have spent 22 days on drilling, so for the duration of the war, I will stick to airplanes, radios, and jeeps instead. If you wanted, you could hitchhike down here to see me, but I realized that would not happen. I know for a fact you would not enjoy standing around on some road waiting for a ride. If you took an airplane to get here, it would cost $130 round trip, so that leaves that option out as well. I could call you up on the telephone if you had one for only $2.30 for 3 minutes of conversation. Oh, to be able to say goodnight to you again in that good old 3-hour way. I sure do miss that. Give my regards to your family. I will try my best to get this war over quickly. I decided to write a letter without giving you a chance to reply as if I am shipped somewhere else. It would be delayed. I'm not taking any chances on running short of time to write to you. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War front in Miami Beach, Florida, Dad finds out the custom of playing taps in memory of the soldiers from the last war who died. It is a sign of respect. June 26, 1942. Dear Mary, there is a custom of playing taps in every camp. A burglar blows taps at 5 minutes to 11 p.m., and then another set of 5 minutes after 11 p.m. This is done in memory of the soldiers of the last war who didn't survive. The other day, we all went to a boxing match where only soldiers were fighting. They would start out like champions, and after the second round, they would get so tired. It looked like boxing in slow motion after a while. Yesterday, Al Jolson, the famous screen and radio star, gave us a performance. We all enjoyed it. After the show, we walked around and asked the boys where they had lived in the States. I was standing near the exit, however. To my surprise, he asked me too. He didn't know where Belford, New Jersey was until I said near Red Bank. Today the Army did something that made me cry very much. I never thought I would carry on like I did. However, you know peeling onions isn't fun. Yes, they finally assigned me to KP, or Kitchen Patrol. The boys here are oozing with knowledge. We are asked to set aside money for war bonds. I'm setting aside $18.75 out of my $50 monthly payment for future use after the war. If I get a few stripes, I will double that amount. There is a good possibility I will never be sent to the front line. I will always be located about 300 miles away. I have enclosed a few airmail stamps for you to use so I can get your letters a little bit sooner. I bought myself an iron to take care of my clothing so I feel like I'm playing house. Would you care to join me in playing house? Maybe it wouldn't work, for I would want to play for keeps. Take care of yourself and write as often as you possibly can. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you soon. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Jefferson Barracks, Missouri. Dad's group is small, but is considered special. He describes the scenery to Mom as he travels through Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee. June 28, 1942. Dear Mary, we left Miami Beach, Florida, and arrived at Jefferson Barracks, Missouri. The scenery was beautiful and I enjoyed it. We traveled by passenger train instead of a troop train. I never knew the Army moved so fast. This train was air-conditioned. We went through Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee before crossing the Mississippi River. Our group is small and our squadron is considered special. Something is in store for us. I hope it's for the best. Things move fast in the Army Air Corps, so anything is possible. Our group is Indio Squadron because no one knows where we will be sent. This camp has a 200-piece band. We also have theaters here so I can go to a show once in a while. The seats are like the park benches in Central Park. Not too comfortable. We often have a debate about whose girl is the prettiest. This discussion usually keeps us up until midnight. Now I am listening to the radio, and the song that is playing is I Threw a Kiss in the Ocean. I happen to remember that it was one of your favorites. You see, I don't forget what you like. Since I met you, my luck has always been the best. You will remain an inspiration to me no matter where I am, and I see no reason why it shouldn't continue. If the going gets tough, I'm sure I won't let you down. I'm doing this for my country with you first in line. Take care of yourself for me, and keep smiling. I will try to do the same, especially after I read the sweet letters you sent to me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Jefferson Barracks, Missouri. Dad will be in the Army Air Corps, keeping radio equipment in working order and A1 shape. He assures Mom he will be located about 200 from the front lines. July 3, 1942. Dear Mary, I don't know what to say first, Mary. Everything seems to be in a general mix-up right now. I want you to know what I am about to say, I mean sincerely. If you should meet someone you like more than me, I guess I will try to get you to like me a little more than him. If I can't do this, then I don't deserve you, so there wouldn't be any hard feelings. I always thought you were much too sweet for just plain old me. The feelings I have for you aren't just a passing fancy or something brought on by the war. I have been around and met many types of girls. None of them have ever taken me over like you have. You're the first girl I can say I really trust. My position with the Army Air Corps will always be about 200 miles from the front lines. My job will be to help keep the radio equipment in A1 shape. I will be called on to fly occasionally, which I think I will like very much. However, most of the time, I will be working with a ground crew. I have received some pistol and machine gun practice. This is in case our airport is ever attacked. We have some funny boys with us. One fellow was a skywriter. He would write ads in the sky with smoke. One day he got mad and took a plane for himself. He wrote, "The boss is a son of a bitch." This did not go over well with his boss, so now he has lost his license for flying indefinitely. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling from Oklahoma to Texas, Dad describes his journey to Mom in full detail. He is taking in all the scenery and explaining everything leading up to their destination of San Francisco, California. July 5, 1942. Dear Mary, I have finally left Jefferson Barracks in Missouri. I am writing this letter on the train, and it is pretty hard to write for the train rocks a lot. I can remember the day I called you for the first time. Using a frightened voice, I asked if Mary Radjic was at home and does she live there. I admit I was scared to death because I never called a girl on the phone before. Luckily, you were home, and it sure was grand to talk to you. Sweetheart, it seems like years since we last saw each other, but I haven't forgotten you. We are crossing into Oklahoma, and it is filled with woods. I believe we are traveling the southern route to California. The mountains are filled with beautiful colors. There aren't many trees in them, so they look like pyramids or volcanoes. We are now leaving Oklahoma and heading for Texas. We are passing the high oil wells, and the air smells like gasoline. We are in Amarillo, Texas, which is the third largest city in the state. Everybody waves to us as we travel along the highways. We find ourselves in Gallup, New Mexico. It is a very picturesque city. We have entered Arizona, and it is another state that I can say I have been there. Rock piles line each side of the tracks, all done by Mother Nature. We are passing through an Indian village that looks like Chief Wahoo was up very early this morning. We just saw a cattle train filled with cattle, and that ain't no bull. I believe every train we pass is a true train. No wonder the railroads are so busy. I don't know if you have ever traveled by train for any distance. You sure get dusty. There are no showers on the train, only wash basins. We must be in the desert, for I haven't seen a ditch, pond, or lake. The fields are full of sagebrush and tumbleweeds. The scenery has become tall evergreen trees. Out here there are millions of them growing. I think I just found out where Santa Claus gets his Christmas trees. We are traveling over the Colorado River, and soon we will reach California. Everything is so peaceful out here. One wonders how a war could ever start. We're moving so fast. I see the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the scenery is beautiful beyond explanation. Finally, we arrived at our destination, San Francisco, California. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in San Francisco, California, Dad talks to Mom about making a record for her and his mama and Tada. He tells Mom that this might be his last letter she might receive, because his clothing and gear is being packed. He expects to be on his way to a boat ride in the Pacific Ocean. July 7, 1942. Dear Mary, it sure made me happy to get your letter. If you did let anyone read my letters, I wouldn't care. I want everyone to know I love you. I think you're the sweetest thing this side of heaven. Your mother's fear of having an old maid around is not true. Anyone who lets a girl like you go should have his head examined. I'm glad you received the record I sent you. I was so afraid it would break before it reached you. I hope you like my voice on it. I said oh so often because I didn't want to sound like I was nervous. I should have used my southern drawl, but with all the excitement I forgot about it. I made a second record in Polish and sent it to Mama and Tada. It was a little harder to speak in Polish, but I managed to do a good job. Now that I am living in San Francisco, California, I might be heading across the ocean at any time. I'll let you know if and when this happens. This ought to hold you until then. In the meantime, I am sending 1,000 trillion kisses to you. This is probably the last letter I will be able to send you, because our clothing is being packed and supervised by an officer. This makes me certain that I am on the way to a boat ride. I might be sent east, for a number of the boys have been sent there. My bag contains about 85 different articles weighing at a total of 300 pounds. It sure is a lot of heavy junk to be carrying around. I have been in the army for 30 days, and it seems like 10 years. Do you realize I haven't seen you for 720 hours? Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling to perhaps Fiji or Australia. Dad has so much time on his hands, so he writes a 32-page letter to Mom while he is traveling by boat across the Pacific Ocean. July 9, 1942. My dearest Mary, here I am out in the ocean miles from nowhere. I never saw so much water in my life. You will probably receive this letter a month and a half from now, for it has to travel to many places before it is delivered to Manville, New Jersey. I want to write to you as often as I can. I hope my letters get to you. The trip has been calm so far. Only a few fellows got seasick, but I feel fine. Under the circumstances, I can't help feeling a little homesick. I miss you, darling. I guess I will not be able to see you for quite some time, but I hope and pray you don't forget me. After we got on this boat, I went to my quarters, which are located one deck below. I can get on deck quickly in case of an emergency. We sleep 4 days high on hammocks. Lucky for me, I have the bottom one, so I don't feel the rocking of the boat as much. Besides, if one falls out of the bottom hammock, there isn't a lot of space left until you reach the floor. One fellow fell from the top hammock and got hurt. He was very lucky he landed on his face instead of his head. The food is surprisingly good. We eat the same as we did on land, but twice a day. We thought this was awful at first, but after traveling on the boat we realized we couldn't eat more if we tried. We aren't doing a lot of labor, so we tend not to work up our appetites. There is a store on the boat, so I decided to visit it one day. I got in line and stood there for 3.5 hours. By that time, I was only the 4th man away from gaining entry. My luck ran out when they decided to close the store. Boy, was I burning mad and fed up as well. The next day, I finally got into the store and enjoyed a few bars of candy, a couple of bottles of Pepsi, and a box of cheese crackers. The only thing I didn't see at all was ice cream. Darn it, anyway. We are not allowed to take food down below deck because we would be giving the rats a chance to eat. They are carriers of many diseases. If anyone tries to get sneaky and gets caught, they will be heavily punished. What do you suppose happened to me next while on this boat? No, I didn't fall overboard. A fellow rushed over and grabbed me by the arm. He said, "What the hell are you doing here? This guy is from my hometown and lived only a 1/2 mile away from me. He is a naval gunner. What are the chances I would be lucky enough to meet someone from my hometown?" It took my breath away. The boat is heavily armed and convoyed, so there is very little danger. I find the boat swell because it is only 3 years old. It once belonged to a country just over the English Channel. It sure is modern and traveling 30 miles per hour. On the top deck, there is plenty of gambling going on among these guys. That's not for me. The ship is dark at night, so no one can see us travel. We go below and sleep away our time. I'm not quite sure if this letter will be censored, so I must keep my trap shut on some things. I have many drills such as man the guns, abandon the ship, or clear the deck for action. These drills are very important to prepare us for any situation that happens. The Air Corps doesn't have to go on KP on this trip, so other outfits are responsible for it. The rest of us perform odd jobs that only take a few hours. All I seem to do is walk from one part of the ship to another, just passing time. This trip would cost a person $500, and I get it free of charge. It's okay, but I do miss you terribly. I have to stay content with looking at your picture. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling on a boat in the Pacific Ocean. Dad and the boys are getting sick of the scenery of blue water. He is worried about how his mom is taking the news of her sons entering the service. July 11, 1942. Dear Mary, when we look out into the ocean after 5 days, it sure makes one a little sick of the scenery of blue water. I did, however, spy a 60-foot whale that looked like a submarine. Our drinking water is rationed, and we get 2 quarts a day. The shower water is salty, so it makes getting yourself clean rather hard. Quite a few of the boys are looking forward to growing mustaches. Australia is probably where we are headed as far as I can tell. Gosh, mail will be slow, but I hope I can keep sending you interesting letters. It will be hard, for I am not allowed to talk about everything. I don't know how my mother took the news of her sons entering the service. I did not tell her when I left. She might be broken-hearted, but I hope to cheer her up by writing to her. The boat has a radio system, so every day we hear announcements along with music. Even if it is old music, we ain't very fuzzy. We do exercises on deck to keep us fit. For the last 5 nights, I have been dreaming about home and my school days. I am positive I will also dream about you, dear. With love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling by boat in the Pacific Ocean. The crew is informed by the medical officer on how to be careful when they meet bad girls. Dad is reading books, going to mass, and watching boxing matches to pass the time. July 13, 1942. Today we got a lecture from the medical officer on how to behave like good boys when we meet bad girls. Hopefully this information will help keep us out of trouble. The crew is native, so we get a kick out of hearing them speak while they work. They wear funny hats and clothing. Ever since I was inducted into the Army, they keep taking me further away from you and my home. My calculations show I will be traveling over halfway around this world. I estimate it to be about 11,000 miles away. I keep thinking of new things to do while I'm on this boat. There is a library full of books to read, and we have daily mass in church. Later, boxing and some other form of entertainment will be presented. Columbus was brave to cross this ocean. All we will see for the next 20 days and nights is water, water, and still more water. I've seen enough of the sea our first 5 days to last me a lifetime. On the 7th day of our journey, one of our ships broke down. We waited 2 hours to get it fixed. Did you ever hear of flying fish? I always knew there was such a thing, now I know for sure. We saw hundreds of them flying like sparrows. We all received a letter from the president on the 7th day of our trip. It was telling us this startling news that we are now members of an overseas expeditionary force. My, as if I didn't know that by now. War sure is expensive. Uncle Sammy has spent over $2,000 on me so far, and in only a couple of months. It is confinement like this that makes us concentrate on ourselves. This makes us mad and ready to fight. Grr! Even though the ship is modern, the air below deck has a funny smell. It's the smell of oil filters that help to circulate the air on all decks. It's hardships like these that will make a better man of me by the time this war is over. I know I will be ready to settle down and share happiness with those I love each and every day. I now eat because it has become a habit. There seems to be no taste to anything. At least, nothing appeals to me. This is the state of yours truly. However, it hasn't gotten me down. The weather is getting warmer each day, for we are heading toward the equator. I'm writing this letter in the hold of the ship using very dim light. We're all required to wear life preservers everywhere while we are on board. We use them for pillows at night, even though they're as hard as a brick. Tonight the air is cooler, so I will try sleeping on deck where I can enjoy fresh air. As each day passes, I'll add to this letter. Sometimes I lay in bed wondering what you're doing and wishing I could see you in person. The only way I see you is in my dreams. I can't visualize myself coming home, walking down the street and stepping to talk to many people. I also see myself getting into my car and rushing down the road to see someone who is very dear to me. I guess by now you know it's you. Everything that is happening is because a couple of bums tried to rule the world. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling to somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Dad is worried Mom might forget him if she isn't able to hear from him for long periods of time. This is far away from Mom, but determined to hold on to her. July 16, 1942. Dear Mary, our ship prints a newspaper. It's 2 pages long, but not much news. I don't know how long this letter will be by the time I reach my final destination. What I do know is your answer to any of my letters will take at least 1 month to come to me. It sure will be tough waiting for your letter, sweetheart. I'm worried you might forget me if you aren't able to hear from me for long periods of time. We share a large space between us, but that's not going to stop us by a long shot. Please don't ever think anything I said in my letters was brought on by the war. My feelings about you did not spring up overnight. I have felt this way for a while, but one doesn't usually speak about their feelings during normal times. I hope you don't think I'm too serious, for this is how I stand. There I go again getting sentimental, but I can't help it. One fellow brought his fishing pole and line. He's been fishing during our trip. Some of the boys were hoping he would catch a mermaid. None of us have seen a gal for a long time. There is an old saying I'm sure you've heard. You can't get along with them and you can't get along without them. Looking at the ocean, I can see 100 miles in each direction. In our position, one would never doubt the world is round. The boats signal each other by lights and code. I pity any submarine that tries to attack us, for our gunners have not seen action for so long their patience is almost gone. Their guns can shoot through metal 4 inches thick, and about 600 bullets a minute. Some boys say if a submarine sends a torpedo shell through our boat, they'll use the same hole to get out. I wish the boat would turn around and go back. All the boys are sick and tired of this journey. My thought about the situation is life is so beautiful, and I feel it is important to fight for it. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Dad sends Mom a crate of oranges, as well as letters and pictures of himself. July 19, 1942. Dear Johnny, what else are you going to send me? The postman was kidding my dad by saying he should get a wagon to hold your crate of oranges. He was turning away from the window when he got a big surprise. The postman handed him the crate. Of course, you really surprised my sister Jeannie when she picked up your letter with 2 kisses on the back of the envelope. She said, "He is so darn charming, sending a letter with a kiss for me and one for you, Mary." Now my other sister Margie wants to go and pick up your next letter, so perhaps she too might get a kiss. Oh, Johnny, thank you for the pictures. I like the natural-looking one best of all. I framed all of them and even took some to the plant. It was fun showing off with your pictures. I'm glad you met someone you know, so both of you can recall your school days. I'm also hoping your luck stays with you. Johnny, I'm so glad you took me to meet your folks, and I'm happy to hear how much your mother likes me. Say, big boy, you don't have to hint around for married life to me. Isn't that what we both want? We'll get it when our time comes. You be a good soldier boy and do your duty. They still have these dances here on Sundays at the Polish-American Home Hall, but I seldom go. Honestly, Johnny, I work 9 hours a day every day, and when Sunday comes, I have 6 to 8 letters from you to answer. Then I also have to help Mom with the children and the housework, so you see what this little Mary does in her spare time. With love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling to somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Dad is filling Mom in with all the details of his daily experiences on the boat. He describes the food, drinks, and the different living quarters the officers enjoy. July 20, 1942. Dear Mary, washing our clothes is unique. We tie our clothes to a strong rope and let them tow behind the boat. The clothes wash well, but we hope big fish won't eat them for bait. When I was being sent from Missouri to California, I wrote you an 18-page letter. While I was still in California, I sent another letter of 12 pages. Please let me know if you've received them. Today I worked in the ship's store. It felt good to do some work for a change. The rest of the day I read books. Finally, I saw a group of boys carrying boxes into the hold of the ship, so I decided to grab a box. I knew if I could get past the guards, I would get oranges, bananas, and a few bottles of soda. Now I know where they store the stuff. Everything sure hit the spot. The officers' quarters are like the front rooms back home. They're very different than our quarters. They even have a cocktail bar. My quarters are in the center of the ship. This is the best part because the center of the ship never rocks as much as the front or back. This was a good break for me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still aboard the ship on the Pacific Ocean, there were some soldiers playing bingo. They know a lot about Australia and inform Dad about the money situation. Dad finds out they will be crossing the equator. July 22, 1942. Dear Mary, it is getting harder for me to write because I'm confined to a space of 3 feet by 100 feet. However, don't worry, I'll keep writing. There's some soldiers on board with our destination. They speak jolly old English. Their game is bingo and they're always looking for players. We found out a lot of information about their country. By the time you get this letter, we'll be playing with the kangaroos. I'm told our money lasts longer in Australia. One can get a 6-course meal for 25 cents. This is because the standard of living is low. Each day we set our clocks back a half hour. Pretty soon we'll lose a whole day when we cross the equator. We've traveled 1,900 miles without any land in sight. When I finally set foot on land, I will slug any guy who asks me to go fishing. You have no idea how much cargo and people this ship can carry. We certainly have loads of food. Good old New Jersey is only 11,000 miles away and about half away around the world. When you stand up in New Jersey, I'm just under you. Way down under, as the saying goes. I seem to be feeling better every day. I must be getting used to it all. The other day we enjoyed community singing. We have an organ so we can entertain ourselves and help to pass the time away. I've just read your last long letter again. I think I've read it 10 times now. Every time I read it, I feel so much happier. Please don't ever stop writing letters, for they mean so much to me, honey. I'd like it very much if you could send me more pictures of yourself. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront aboard ship traveling the Pacific Ocean. Dad keeps writing faithfully to Mom and does a really good job of describing his day-to-day activities. He's having the adventure of a lifetime. July 24, 1942. Dear Mary, the Aussies don't think highly of the British, but they sure do like us Americans. We are looking forward to a royal welcome as we land. They're so good-natured that we were told not to take advantage of them. It rained very hard today, so a lot of us boys are on deck taking a bath in the rainwater. At least we're having some fun. They're playing songs typical of the South Sea Islands. I guess they're trying to get us in a good mood. Our boat is leading the convoy with a lot of boats behind us. They might be able to catch up to us, and I'm hoping this would speed up our journey. I think there are 15 days to go before we see land. It will feel funny to be standing still for a change. The boat has many horns and whistles that means something different. We get a good laugh when one horn whistles like a Model T Ford. It's so unusual because we're so far from nowhere. When I started this letter, I didn't think I could say a lot. Once I get started, I just keep writing. Honey, I don't know what power you have over me. You inspire me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still aboard ship in the Pacific Ocean. Dad confesses to Mom that he met a girl in California. However, he says she was such a kid. He tells Mom he knew she was a pretty lady, and he experienced love at first sight. July 26, 1942. Dear Mary, here I'm still on this excursion, which I call it. I have a confession to make. I don't think it's fair for me to keep any secrets from you, dear. The thing is, although my time was short in California, I did manage to meet a girl. I've enclosed her picture because I thought you might be interested to see my taste in women. Isn't my taste good? We didn't spend much time together, but I hope you understand. She was such a kid. In your case, I knew you were a pretty lady, and it was love at first sight. I'm just lying on deck with my eyes closed thinking of you. Popular dance and love songs are playing on the radio. I'm thinking to myself how I used to dance so well with you in my arms. Mary, I can't tell you enough how much it meant to me. If I think about us being together, it becomes so hard to bear. It is things like this I miss so much. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, traveling by boat in the Pacific Ocean, Dad explains 2 things in this world that would make him the happiest person alive. One would be to win the war, and 2 is to return home to his folks and Mom. July 29, 1942. Dearest Mary, I can hardly wait to see you again. There are 2 things in this world that would make me the happiest person alive. One is to win this war and return to my folks and you. The other thing would be to hold you tight in my arms. I tell myself I am going to have adventures that I wouldn't miss for the world, even if they are risky at times. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, aboard ship traveling in the Pacific Ocean, Dad wonders if Mom would be privy to more war news than him. He says the boys on board will be told only what the big shots want them to know. August 2, 1942. Dear Mary, I have a feeling you will probably hear more news about the war than I will, even though I will be closer to the war zone. They only let us know what the big shots want us to know. Only the good news will reach us so that we keep our spirits high. Even though things are a little uncertain, my spirits have not been broken. I sure meet lots of interesting people. Some are newlyweds, some are young squirts, some old fogies, and some are daydreamers. There are a lot of slap-happy punch-drunk guys as well. Mary, I hope by my letters, I've shown you how I really am as a person. I didn't meet you soon enough before the army claimed me. I hardly had time to see you and tell you all I wanted to say. I hope what you've learned hasn't disappointed you. It seemed very hard to say what was on my mind because I couldn't find the right words. I hope I haven't spoiled this letter by trying to explain myself too much. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom has received some very troubling news about her aunts and cousins. August 2, 1942. My dear Johnny, I received your most welcomed letter about a week ago. I am so ashamed of myself for not answering it sooner. However, I had received some bad news about my two aunts and a cousin. They had all been taken to the hospital for operations. We are very fond of each other, and the news broke my heart. I was so upset, Johnny, I could not write to you for fear I might burst into tears and pour out all my troubles. Please forgive me, as it is the honest truth. How are you? I'm hoping you are well, as I am fine and dandy like chocolate candy. Want to nestle in each other's arms? Oh, shucks. How can we do that when you are so far away from me, and yet I feel so close to you? Oh, how I miss those nestles, cuddles, and the curve of your arms around me. Gosh, Johnny, I'm worried about the heat out there. It seems that not only the war itself is dangerous, but everything around it as well. Oh, Johnny, do be careful. You say my letters are interesting. Gosh, your letters are full of news. Perfect, and oh so sweet. My cousins had 2 visitors from Camp Kilmer. They enjoyed themselves so much. After dinner, my cousins drove them back to Camp Kilmer, and I went along for the ride. I always wanted to visit a soldier's camp. However, I didn't know anyone there. I would have liked to see you there and say hello. When you last wrote, you said you were going to take a ride in a glass-bottom boat. I wish I could join you but enjoy it and pretend I'm there as well. I'm reading your letter, and honestly, you couldn't possibly tell me more. I love to read your mail and hear about your adventures. Oh, you rascal. I laughed out loud about the army onions. Johnny, don't fight so hard about getting stripes. You didn't march into the army with any, so just take it easy. You are in the army, not in prison, so you don't have to wear stripes. As I told you once before, stripes or no stripes, you are my Johnny to me. With love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still aboard ship in the Pacific Ocean, Dad realizes he's having an easy time now and expects to be quite busy working on airplanes when his group finally lands. He will be checking equipment and fixing planes. August 4, 1942. Dear Mary, my easy days will be over when we land. During the day, I will be assigned to get airplanes ready for nightly attacks on enemy bases. When the planes return, I'll be in charge of checking them over and fixing them if necessary. I have an opportunity to volunteer as a gunner aboard a fighter plane if I want to learn about it. It will be quite risky, but one has to take a chance once in a while. Don't ever tell my mother about this because she is afraid of flying. As for me, I love flying. This is only what I have written for my first 10 days. My, who said women do all the gabbing? I guess I'm worse than an old maid. It has been raining for 2 days straight. Yes, it is the soaking kind of rain like when we walked to the movies that day. They say variety is the spice of life. However, in this place it does not exist. I did discover our boat has a swimming pool on it, but it's being used for cleaning our clothes. Darn it anyway. I never knew how good water could taste until the weather turned much warmer. Thirst seems to be hard to please and quench. Labor Day passed and Christmas is coming soon. How time flies. I must be lucky to get into the Army Air Corps, for I do answer lots of questions about it. There are soldiers who try to get into it, but they couldn't because they didn't possess any working skills. Join the Army and see the world. They should say join the Army and see the ocean. On the subject of being spoiled by me, Mary, you spoil me just as much with your sweet letters, so we are even. I should have taken up dancing sooner. Maybe I would have met you sooner. They say life is too short, and I say never again will I put off anything. Why don't you come and see me sometime when you have a couple months to spare? Well, I can dream about it, can't I? While we were stationed at Jefferson Barracks in Missouri, we had to sing the Army Air Corps song. Now we kid each other saying we should sing this song when we spot some Japs. If we did that, we would surely scare them to death. It is the power of imagination. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, aboard ship in the Pacific Ocean, the waves are starting to rise and fall, and Dad thinks King Neptune is raising hell below the ocean. Some of the boys were gambling, but Dad wants to save his money. August 6, 1942. Dear Mary, the waves are 30 feet high today. It feels just like a roller coaster ride. King Neptune must be raising hell below the ocean. I hear such fairy tales from the boys. There seems to be no end to them. Yes, they are quite different than those I heard in grade school. I'm writing a letter to my mom. I told my brother Walter not to say anything about me for a while. Probably by now she knows all about my situation. She must be worried to death. I hope to calm her down and soothe her with some choice words in my letter. I hope I haven't broken the censor's rules by telling you too much. I have described a lot about my army life so far. Perhaps they will get mad enough to send me back home. Oh yeah, like that would happen. I wish. I must sound as crewy as a 100-year-old man. Our lunchroom is always stuffy and steamy. It's so hot that it spoils all of our hopes for relaxation and the consumption of good food. I suppose it will get worse as we get closer to the equator. I must say, however, the coffee is better than any I have tasted since I've been in the army. The best way to enjoy it is to drink it up on deck where the air is cooler. Today is payday, but it is only a partial payment of $5. The dice games are increasing by the hour. This guy wants to save his money, not gamble it away foolishly. Remember, if you want to send me any mail, try to send it airmail to the San Francisco address. Then it will reach me quicker. I look forward to your sweet letters. They keep me going and count a lot in my heart. I hope you have received the locket, penned, and the Army Air Corps emblem I sent to you. I will try to get you something really nice if it's permissible. Don't forget to check in at the post office once a week. Your sweet medicine is lasting pretty long. I hope I don't run short of it. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, crossing the equator in the Pacific Ocean, Dad describes the custom regarding people who cross the equator. All the boys as well as the big shots must participate. They had a grand time. August 8, 1942. Dear Mary, there is a custom I found out about when one crosses the equator. Any person who has not crossed it before must be ducked in water or have his head scalped. The crew is getting the large canvas tub ready. I would like to be dunked. Besides, I need a bath anyway. Quick, somebody throw me a towel and a cake of soap. Oh yes, I must tell you more about the ceremony we had when we crossed the equator. Everyone had to appear before the king, dressed in a costume made of ropes, which put together made a grass skirt, and the queen, she wore her curves. The children were present as well. One had to kiss the royal baby in the most embarrassing place. Each person was tried for some silly reason, and the king would give him a sentence. Then one is very gently placed in a chair and thrown into the pool where 5 men are waiting to dunk me. Following this, one is given shampoo and a shave consisting of ground up carrots, coffee grounds, sand, soap, jelly, potato peels, and dishwater. All this was smeared over the person's body. After that, one had to bend over and get a paddling of about 10 hard whacks. Ouch! I feel like I've been riding a horse for a couple of hours. This process changed for each victim, and even the big shots had to participate. All of the boys saw this as a chance to get even, so the big shots received even rougher treatment. The ship then stopped for a few minutes as part of this custom. During peacetime, it calls for a big party with wine, women, and song. Everyone was in splits, laughing, hollering, and shouting wise sayings. Everybody had a grand time. Beer is usually served, but we understood it is not allowed. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Front, landing somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Dad has been spending time studying. He wants to learn all he can before he starts his work. He has been instructed on how to shoot a gun. August 10, 1942. Dear Mary, you should be aware by now that I've landed safely. I told my brother Walter to write to you and tell you any news about me. I've been spending lots of my spare time studying. I'm not sure how much knowledge they will expect me to have learned. I'm finding it rather hard because it's been a long time since I've hit the books. After all this, I'll be very disappointed if I don't earn myself a rating. At times, it's who you know that counts instead of what you know. It's surprising how many boys have taken up reading for a change. Nevertheless, I don't want anyone pushing me around. While I was a civilian, I thought it was fun to shoot a gun. This is only for a few shots. Because the gun kicks back so much your shoulder aches. When shooting machine guns or large guns, the noise hurts your eardrums. It's not as much fun as people think it would be if they tried it. I've learned a few words of a new language. Chop chop. This means get out of my way, you bum. This is what the crew says if they are in a hurry. Remember that time you said I was too nervous? Well, now I'm living life at a slower pace, so I've gotten over all that apprehension. My life seems to be running like a storybook, with quite a few more chapters to go before it's complete. I'm also hoping I will be permitted to take pictures when I get to my final destination. I will try to send some home to you. All my friends wrote to me while I was in the States. It was very nice of them. But the letters I really look forward to receiving are yours, dear. Please keep them coming. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front on board the ship in the Pacific Ocean, Dad is placing himself in God's hands. He believes with his guidance, there is no way to go down the wrong path. He also tells Mom not to spend all her spare time writing letters. He wants her to go out and enjoy herself. August 12, 1942. Dear Mary, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I really mean it. You have no idea how much enjoyment I get from writing these letters to you. I will look forward to your replies. Now, don't try to spend all your spare time answering my letters. I'm sure you can find some other way to spend your time and make it more enjoyable. Mary dear, the censors may not let me talk much about myself. If I spend lots of time talking about you, I hope you will understand. I have figured out that when I was a civilian, I seemed to be 6 months behind on my sleeping. I can't say I have now caught up on my rest. Such is life. One surprise after another. Anything that happens to me now is being guided by God Himself. With His guidance, how can I go wrong? I hope this letter gets to you quickly and safely. When you go to church, remember to say a little prayer for me. When I go to Mass, I will do the same for you. Dearest, I can only hope the day will come when I can say things to you no matter where or when, and you'll be there in person to hear them. Mary, I want you to always feel free to say anything to me. If I say anything out of place, please tell me about it. Don't ever feel sorry for me and withhold anything from me. I think it is much more practical this way. I hope your sisters are well and having fun with their boyfriends. It's too bad we didn't get a chance to go out all together and have a swell time. I can only hope the day will come when I can stop writing about all this and actually start doing it. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front and the Pacific Ocean, Dad is daydreaming about Mom because his mind is filled with memories of her. He tells Mom he feels like he is talking to her whenever he writes his letters. August 14, 1942. Dear Mary, well, it finally happened. After dreaming about everything in general, I had a special one about you. It was one of those dreams where I appear in a lot of places. This is how it went. I was walking down the street, and all of a sudden, you came along. You put your arms around me and gave me a big kiss. I said, "What was that for?" You said, "Do I have to give you a reason why I kissed you?" There were a lot more details to it, but it became rather silly. You know, honey, if I close my eyes, I can still feel that kiss as if it really happened. I hope to have more of these dreams to tell you about soon. Summer is almost over in New Jersey. However, where I'm going, spring is just beginning. I'm looking forward to possibly enjoying 2 summers this year. You ought to see my swell tan right now. Mary, I've been doing a lot of thinking about everything. I wonder if you'll appear differently to me when I finally see you again. I am absolutely sure you will still be my beautiful armful of love. Don't forget to tell your mother and dad I was asking about them. Oh yes, include your sisters and brothers as well. All the boys see me writing to you for long periods of time. They like to tease me about it by saying I should forget about you. They think some draft dodger has claimed you by now. My answer to them is, forget about kidding me, for I know how well we get along. Never before in my life I had been so certain that my feelings for you are the real thing. You see, kid, a few words from you make me feel so much better. Every time I run short of something, I start writing about you. I wonder why this happens. It couldn't be true. Oh yes, it could. It is love. When I write letters to you, I feel as if I'm speaking to you directly. I hope I haven't said too much to lose the mystery. Do you know what the boys said when I showed them a picture of us together? They said, "Woohoo, what a babe." Then they said, "Mama, buy me one of those." And, does she have a sister or two? I can still picture you all dressed up in a new outfit. You would be giving the boys a chance to cast their eyes on you. I only know they have no idea how lucky they would be to see such scenery like you. I hope they appreciate this opportunity. I still remember the day we went to my hometown, and I kept telling and showing you everything at the same time. Time was so short that day. I guess I made you more confused than ever. That is what I got for waiting so long to bring you to meet my parents and see my hometown. It's a funny thing that everyone thinks his hometown is the best. We just keep saying, just get me back to the States. Honey, I can still remember how I pinned my corsage on your yellow blouse. Gosh, I can remember every day I spent with you just like it happened yesterday. It sure is sweet of you to spend so much time writing letters to me. I will cherish all of them. I look forward to thanking you when I get back home. Then I can do it in a much better and proper manner. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still traveling in the Pacific Ocean, Dad informs Mom about the food he expects to have if he ends up being stationed in Australia. He wonders if he will get a chance to see General MacArthur. August 16, 1942. Dear Mary, every day is the same for we dress as usual. You know we wear the suit with all the trimmings. One gets to know the other boys pretty fast when we are so closely packed. I've made a lot of new friends, and when I land, I will get to know plenty more at my new location. I just came back from church and went to lunch, and I was so surprised to see fried chicken. It was totally unexpected and delicious. I am told Australia has so many sheep that our meals may always be some lamb dish. Goodbye, chicken and eggs. I hope my letters don't sound I'm really complaining. This is war, so things can't be like home sweet home. I am hoping that if I get to go to Australia, they have lots of movies for us. I never thought English could be spoken in so many different ways. One can tell where a soldier comes from by listening to him talk. After hearing all these combinations, don't be too surprised if my voice changes as well. I wonder if I'll get a chance to see General MacArthur. Today I'm going to see some boxing bouts. I hope to see some good fights, because there are a few professional boxers on board, as well as wrestlers. Oh, how I wish I could go to a dance. Personally, I think you are my best dancing partner. So I guess I must wait on this thought. Most likely I will learn a few new steps when I dodge some jabs. I hope by Christmas time I will hear from you. I know I must make it tough on you to answer my letters, for I don't ask many questions. Okay, here I go with some questions. How does a girl become like you? Did you figure it out by yourself? Or did your parents teach you to be a certain type of person? How did you get so sweet and different than other girls I've met? Now don't hold out on me. Tell me all the information. I promise not to tell a soul. We'll keep it a secret between us. My address is Private John Puslesny, 323-85094, APO 3028, San Francisco, California. Unfortunately, I don't know my zip code, but they should know where to ship my mail. The trip this letter takes is more risky than the military adventure I am currently taking. I feel like I'm getting older every day. It seems like only yesterday that I was 19 and had never kissed a girl. Mary, you were the last girl I kissed before I left. You will be the first girl I want to kiss when I get back home. Oh, what a great day that will be. Don't forget we have a date for the first Sunday after I invade the United States. I'll plan to come to Manville, New Jersey early and stay as late as you will allow me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still on the boat in the Pacific Ocean, the boys had to unpack their bags for inspection. Rumors are circulating about the reason this must be done. Dad is guessing the big shots just wanted to keep them off guard and on their toes. He says, that's the Army for you. August 18, 1942. Dear Mary, today We had to unpack our bags for inspection. A rumor circulated that someone stowed away a blonde in their bag. Another was either someone stole the anchor or pilfered a rowboat. My guess is the big shots saw we're having things too easy, so they found a way to make us miserable. They figured making us unpack bags would do the trick. That's the Army for you, always willing to keep you off guard and on your toes. The reason I didn't mail this letter sooner was because of the censors. I have a swell friend who was married, and he tells me how happy they were when he was back in the States. I get mad hearing good things are forced to stop or are prevented because of the war. There are plenty of young people who must wait to be together and suffer this way. My friend is from Boston, Massachusetts, where Boston baked beans are so famous. The secret is to add a half cup of black coffee to them. I would never think of this. He says one will never taste good beans unless you make them this way. It gives them a brown color and flavor. This fellow has a nice wife. He keeps telling me how happy they were. The first thing I plan to do in Australia is go and order a big juicy steak. I'm just thinking about it, and I'm hungry. Quick, dear, can you bake me a cake? That ought to satisfy me enough to wait for my steak dinner. The boys are singing, "Oh, I wish I had someone to hug me, someone to love me." The words change, and we give it the Army touch. I'm getting used to taking orders from the officers now. I don't think I'll get out of the habit. It was easy for the henpecked husbands to get used to, but us single guys found it harder. Here's the latest communique issued by the Japs. On the Australian front, a large force of Japanese soldiers attacked an enemy cyclist, making him dismount. It was probably an American. After some heavy and prolonged fighting, we were able to puncture his tire and destroy the front wheel. While the loss of the rear wheel must be obvious, the handlebars are in our possession. The frame of the bicycle is still being bitterly contested. Do you know what the soldier said to the babe at a USO dance? I don't know how to dance, but I'd love to hold you while you dance. She was pretty as a picture with a nice frame too. I really would be happy if I could say you are my own, my very own. Gosh, I just can't help saying these things to you. Honey, this is how I feel about you. When I write to you, my heart holds the pen. Dearest, I know I've sort of put you in a spot, but please forgive me because I can't help it. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, passing Ghost Islands in the Pacific Ocean, the crew lost an entire day by crossing the international dateline. Dad talks about his Navy friend who has a large collection of souvenirs. He is impressed with the large amount he has been able to acquire. August 20, 1942. Dear Mary, just passed a few small islands with no people living in them. I think we call this a ghost island. It's just rocks and water. This is no place for me. I'm stuck, so please get me out of here. We lost a whole day because we crossed the international dateline. I was able to visit my Navy friend's room. I'm sure it's better than ours. It looked like the nearest thing to home that I've seen on this boat. He even had curtains on the windows. He showed me his collection of souvenirs. What a large collection. Finally, we had a chat about old times, for we know each other's family back home. I'll bet you never received a long letter like this one before. There's so much I want to say to you. This is the only way I can keep in touch with you. The time I spend or the most of pages don't make any difference to me. One can never tell where they will send me when I do finally get selected for a unit. During the night, everything is in a blackout. When we go out, we wear our life belts. We have ropes to keep them attached to our bodies. Sometimes when we are in a dark hall, we fool around by tying ourselves to someone else's ropes. Some boys even tie their ropes to some part of the boat. One time we tied 10 men together without being caught. What a mess that was when everyone's line started to move. I had a 1-hour detail every 3 days, so I volunteer for the storage room. This is where all our food is stored. All the fruits are on ice, and I don't dare to touch them. At least I don't taste too many of them. When one is out in the ocean, things like fresh fruit taste very good. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, anchored in the bay near the island of Fiji, Dad describes all the scenery in full detail. He also tells Mom everything that goes on with his daily life in the Army. August 22, 1942. Dear Mary, presently, we are anchored in the bay. We will dock tomorrow if we can find a place. The island of Fiji is very picturesque with beautiful trees, hills, and mountains. The houses are surprisingly modern. I can see cars and trucks moving along. Most of the vehicles are army units. In the bay, there are some pleasure boats roaming around. Finally, I got some new paper, and it's the airmail kind. I plan to buy a souvenir at each port. Someday, I will show them all to you. Mary, it is hard for me to describe all the things I have seen. They are beyond exciting and beautiful. I've seen pictures of islands in books. However, I would never guess I would be able to see them in person. I would trade all these sights in if I could be in my car sitting in front of your house right now. That would mean more to me than anything in this world. I'm writing to you in my hammock while we are passing through the most dangerous waters on this strip. I went to the deck below because it's much better and safer. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, landing in Fiji in the Pacific Ocean. Dad and the boys are looking forward to going ashore, especially after spending so much time on the boat. He realizes they are getting closer to the danger zone. August 24, 1942. Dear Mary, today we landed on an island called Fiji. We're hoping to be able to go ashore if we behave ourselves. Everyone is being an angel. We're doing everything for the big shots with a smile on our faces. We go out of our way to please them. We look like very good boys, but wait until we go ashore. On this island, the policemen salute everyone from a good humor man to a general. Therefore, we salute them in a snappy manner. They are very modern as their hair is worn in a sweep styled straight up about 12 inches high. We're getting closer to the danger zone. During this trip, we haven't encountered a submarine. We feel very thankful. A boat filled with girls just went past us. You ought to see how all the boys ran to one side of the boat to see them. This caused the boat to lean over on the side. One would think we never saw a girl before. They were having a party, so they waved at us with a glass of beer in their hands. The dinner room crew and our officers thought we would all get ashore. Some boys weren't allowed to go ashore, so this created a shortage of food. We thought there was going to be a food riot, but we ended up having sandwiches at 8 p.m. This wasn't too bad because some natives in rowboats sold us some bananas and coconuts. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront on the island of Fiji, Dad is entertaining Mom by telling her about boys who went ashore and got tipsy. He makes her laugh when he describes how they look when wearing shorts. August 26, 1942. Dear Mary, this morning I went to breakfast and saw a lot of boys on KP, which is kitchen patrol. They were the ones who came back tipsy from their shore leave. This is their punishment for drinking too much. I figured that I have been in the water for 24 days. I think I will probably be here for another 8 days or possibly more than that. Most of the boys bought shorts to wear on board for they are easy to wash. I never knew there were so many knock-kneed and bow-legged soldiers in the army until they put their shorts on. I get tired quickly when I'm walking on land. I guess it's too much space after being on board the ship for so long. The officers had a good time as there were many women officers of the U.S. Medical Corps on leave as well. Though men are married, it didn't make much difference to them. What I really need right now is a nice big hug and a kiss from you, dear. I would feel better for sure. Woohoo! You have me under yours, pal, kid. Whenever I talk about you, I get all excited. The powers that you possess are strong. I've only been away from you for 3 months, and even with 12,000 miles between us, I cannot break that hold on me. No, I'm not complaining. I love it all. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront on the island of Fiji, Dad hopes Mom has not forgotten him. He says he met girls from many lands, but none that possess her charm and beauty. He is enjoying some of the music on board. August 28, 1942. Dear Mary, I hope you haven't forgotten me. This letter should remind you I'm still here. I didn't read this letter over before I sent it, because when I tried it put me to sleep. If you find any mistakes, please excuse them. I wish I could send more letters. However, there are no post offices or mailboxes in the ocean. I have seen girls from my lands. I talked to them and sometimes they were quite nice. However, I would give up all of them for you, darling. When it comes to thinking about you, I am powerless to do anything else. There goes my ship's loudspeaker playing music. They're playing a song called Miss You by Bing Crosby. They sure are rubbing in our loneliness. Now they are playing the Helena Polka. Quick, hold me back from jumping overboard to swim back home to my favorite dancing partner. Don't forget to send me a little picture of you as you appear now. It would certainly do a lot to cheer me up. I always heard the equator was the hottest place on Earth. However, I thought the desert in California was hotter. Your mail should be reaching me more often. However, unfortunately, my letters to you will take longer. This is because the ships go to my location I'm living in, and they go to some other place to be sorted before they deliver the mail to the States. I sent you and my dear mom some pictures. I bet you will be glad to hear from me. I know I was her favorite boy when I lived at home. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, moving away from the island of Fiji. Dad describes the beautiful full moon but says it's no good without Mom. The crew is moving and the sea takes a terrible turn. It's so rough a lot of the boys are sick. August 31, 1942. Dear Mary, today was my wash day. My clothes do get dirty on board ship. At night, we were treated to a full moon. What good was the nice full moon to me way out here without you? The water is so calm today, just like a lake. This kind of night is dangerous for us. Submarines can spot us easier under these conditions. Now we moved on, and we are setting our watches ahead. The sea took a turn and now it is very rough. About 80% of the boys got seasick. It was the first time I also felt a little sick. I think it was because I had to take someone's place in the rear of the boat. The poor guy was so sick, he couldn't stand up. The boat was like a seesaw. The back would rise up 50 feet and then go down again. Ooh, my stomach felt like it was up there while my body stayed down below. This was by far the worst day and night on board. Even a few of the sailors got sick. Dearest Mary, I don't know how to end this letter, but I think I should before I write a book. I hope you like it as much as I enjoyed writing it. I might not be able to tell you as much detail after this time because it will be considered military secrets. I think I will always manage to have something to say. Mary, please don't forget I am one soldier boy who really cares for you and loves you. Tell everyone I'm over here putting in my 25 cents worth. Be a good little girl and don't worry about little me. With all my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, moving on in the Pacific Ocean, Dad is feeling fit as a fiddle and has arrived safe and sound in the war zone. He has finally finished his 32-page letter on the Pacific Ocean. He says the Army Air Corps does not let anyone know exactly where their men are stationed. September 10, 1942. Dear Mary, I'm still around feeling fit as a fiddle. First, I got a needle stuck in me. Then they throw more equipment at me. I'll have enough equipment to start my own Army-Navy store soon. We've gotten our weapons, but I'm not allowed to mention what kind, but I think they're the best. This is to protect the air base in case of attack. They're very strict out here, so I don't know if and when they censor the letters. I just filled out a card notifying my folks that I have arrived safely in the war zone. They just told me that the only information I can tell anyone is that I'm safe and sound. You might never know exactly where I'm stationed. That would be considered classified military information. The Army Air Corps never lets anyone know where the men are sent. I think it will be either Australia or some island in the Pacific. Maybe you will be able to get a general idea where I am by the letters I'll surely write to you. I might try to keep a diary of all my experiences if I can keep it undercover. I should be able to tell all the little boys and girls how life in the Army was 50 years from now. Here I am going into the prime of my life. I'm just getting to know what life is all about. I'm spending part of it for Uncle Sammy, and I'm sure it will make a better man of me. I heard a saying that goes like this: you can never be a good soldier unless you complain about everything. I guess it's only natural when it comes to being in the Army, but I'm not sure how things are in the Navy. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. It sure has caught up with me. I could never imagine myself thinking this way. However, as the days come and go, my love for you grows stronger. That's how I know it's the real thing, baby. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, relaying details about Fiji. Dad finds his place to be very similar to Florida. He observes many different people and takes notice of their unique clothing. September 12, 1942. My dear Mary, I thought I would tell you more details about the island where we stayed for a couple of days. There are about 1,000 islands in this group. It was a Fiji island. This place was visited by the Japs a couple of times, so all the people were prepared. I have enclosed a sample of their money for you to see how it looks. These islands get lots of rain, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. It was raining very hard, but a bunch of us went downtown anyway. A little rain just wouldn't stop us. This place was quite modern and had many cars. This area was similar to Florida with palm trees and lots of different flowers in many colors. 2 movies were playing, Jesse James and Skyhawk with Earl Flynn. It was Sunday, so no beer was sold. This was a good thing for lots of boys who would have gotten drunk and lost their shore leave. The people are black, Hindu, Indian, and Chinese. Both men and women wore dresses with the bottom hem cut in a jagged pattern. They were strong and muscular, but barefooted. Every time we saw a native, they would say "bola bola." We saw them smiling, so we could tell this meant hello. This wording can mean many things, such as so long, go jump in the river, and of course, you know where you can go. The men styled their hair about 12 inches high and 6 inches wide from front to back. I only saw a few white people besides the soldiers. Some of the black native girls are not bad looking, for they wear nice clothing to accent their curves and have fancy hairdos. It's hard to tell whether you're looking at a babe or a man, because their hair and clothing looks the same. A well-dressed person here wears a white dress, a colorful necktie, a yellow skirt, and no shoes. This is what the wolves wear in this area. If a boy wants to be fresh to a girl, all he has to do is say jig jig, then duck his head or start running. I don't think this means hi toots. The cops wear fancy uniforms with only a nightstick. They are all 6 feet tall or taller and look powerfully built. However, they don't carry guns. The Indian women wear wedding rings in their noses. They also wear a veil every day. The colors they choose are very bright and the combinations are mixed together. These women are able to carry baskets on their heads without dropping them. They told us Americans that we wouldn't like it here, because most of these people thought we wanted to stay here. I met a little boy who spoke very good English. He invited me to come to his village 6 miles away in the jungle. He said I would have a good time for a dance and celebration was to be held. I couldn't go because I had to be back on board ship at 6 p.m. I enjoyed eating bananas. I bought 25 of them and only paid a total of 15 cents for them. I was able to get a large bottle of soda for only 13 cents. The merchants soon learned the value of American money. They think we are millionaires because we appear to have so much money. Their wages are very low, about 40 cents a day. They work when they feel like they need money. The merchants were friendly and our boys cleaned out the store shelves. They bought candy, cakes, ice cream, homemade bread, and many kinds of fruit. I went to a New Zealand club and bought 8 sandwiches, a cup of tea, and a large plate of fruit salad. All of this only cost 25 cents. So I was quite surprised to find out I could buy so much but pay so little money. Prior to this time, a soldier could buy a house for $4. Now they cost $50. One could also buy a very beautiful Indian girl for $6. She would live with you, perform maid's duties, and offer other services. Woohoo! This practice is illegal now. These Indians are like those who live in India. Some of the girls don't wear much more than a very short skirt and no top. There were soldiers from many lands here, and we all got along well together. We stayed 4 days and were able to go on shore leave every day for about 6 hours. Most of the fun started when drunken soldiers came back to the boat. One of them put his arms around the ship's captain and kissed him. Some boys wanted to beat everybody up, and still others were just slap happy as they talked and staggered. I stuck to my malted milkshakes that I usually enjoy. All my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, leaving Fiji for New Guinea. The boys are treated to a visit from some little native girls who are selling beads. Dad finds out all the native people are under the impression that the Americans are rich. September 14, 1942. Dearest Mary, some little native girls were selling beads. I guess they were about 4 years old. We would try to give them a nickel for each string. However, they would say, "No, Americans have plenty of money. 20 cents for each, please." Lots of homes here have beautiful woven carpets. They're made of very strong material. The designs are of their government buildings or something like our Washington, D.C. office building. They look like granite or marble. They can weave many nice baskets and shopping bags. These are all done by hand. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in New Guinea, Dad is getting to know the people, food, and customs in New Guinea. He tells Mom there are no parties after 6 p.m. It is blackout time, so the Japs can't see them. September 16, 1942. Dearest Mary, the natives like our name very much, so there are many Johnnies here. We found the British white girls and women very stuck on themselves. They wouldn't even say hello or bother to look at us. The natives have a very good sense of rhythm. They really sing well. They are able to not only sing their native songs, but American songs as well. They were singing "You Are My Sunshine." They earn money for food by singing. A penny gets them a loaf of bread and a smoked fish. This is considered one meal for them. All of the stores close at 6 p.m. by law, and then there is total blackout. That means no parties being held in the hills or villages beyond the city. When there is a party, soldiers from New Zealand, Fiji Islands, Australia, and America come together for one party of many nations. Sometimes there are a few civilians. Their drinks are quite strong, and one can count on seeing at least one fight at each party. Some boys were so drunk and half crazy. One of them actually started to chew on his canvas hammock. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in New Guinea, Dad does a fantastic job of describing the people he has met. He tells Mom about the clothing, the cars, and the style of living he has observed. September 18, 1942. Dear Mary, the policemen are the most colorful people on this island. They all have the same haircuts and their uniforms consist of fancy buttons and hats. I know you have seen some women wear fancy hats in the States. Well, you ought to see the hats over here. I saw an Indian carrying a small package. Beside him was his son carrying a big package that probably weighed 100 pounds. It was twice as big as the boy himself. Most of the Indians looked like they were wearing a tablecloth for a skirt with every bright colors. Women were walking around with very little clothing on them. This wasn't due to the hot weather, but it seems to be the style. If you can get a world map, you can see just about where I have been and where we are traveling now. I still don't know for sure where my boat trip will take me. I can safely say it would be centered. In the rivers on the island, men use piers to catch fish. The shoemakers in town sit on the floor with their feet crossed and work on shoes from this position. Only one native and 20 of them wear shoes. The others would scrape their feet on the sidewalk, and it sounds just like you and I dancing. What tough feet they must have. They kick footballs barefooted and seem to be as accurate as our players who wear football cleats in the States. The nice grass tennis courts are well kept on the island. I'm told there are some good players here. Men and women smoke cigarettes made out of tobacco that smells like a 5-cent politician cigar. It was wrapped in old newspaper. In the rivers on the island, men use piers to catch fish. I see many different styles of cars. If you think my rattle trap is small, you ought to see some cars here. They are half the size of mine and look like something Abe Lincoln traded in for a newer model. The merchants here want American money. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront anchored in New Guinea, the Japs make many claims to victory using false information. Dad finds a way to address his letters to Mom to hopefully avoid the censors. September 20, 1942. Dear Mary, the place where we finally laid anchor was reported by the Japs to be completely destroyed 2 weeks ago. What can one believe these days? The only thing I believe at this time is that we are at war with the Japs. In fact, they claimed all valuable installations on 2,000 islands have been destroyed. My, what a startling news. I expect to hear in the near future that I'm a ghost on this ship which was sunk 20 days ago. If I sound a little spooky, check the postmark on the envelope. Who knows? Maybe it will be from the other world. I purposely used my home address for this letter so that it would look like civilian communication. This way I might avoid any big shots from reading it. If they decide to check, I wrote one short letter and then I started another letter. If by chance my luck runs out and I'm caught, they will lower my status 2 grades lower than a private. I expect to be busy as a bee when we settle on land. I could go for a nice fresh water shower. I feel so salty that I could never spoil even in the heat. If and when I see Australia, I'll be able to have a big smile. Right now, I only have a little grin. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in New Guinea, Dad is getting a kick out of hearing the Australians say, bloody this or bloody that. He makes sure to tell Mom not to write Fiji or Australia or even Blue Ocean in her letters. September 22, 1942. Dear Mary, it sure will feel funny having summer instead of winter at this time. You will be freezing over there while I'll be roasting over here. I have heard the Australians claim we don't know how to speak English. They think they are the experts when they use the words bloody this or bloody that. They use this kind of slang a lot. Don't mention the word Fiji or Australia in your letters. You can say place. I might get in big trouble if the big shots or censors see it. They're not aware how I was able to get any information to you. A friend is going to mail my letters to you from the US. They don't let us say Blue Ocean as the Japs might figure out it means the Pacific Ocean. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in New Guinea, apparently the men are not allowed to draw any state maps to pass the time. Dad says this is silly. He feels the army is foolish to be checking the guys instead of learning all they can about where the Japs are located. September 24, 1942. Dear Mary, I want to tell you a good story. One guy decided to draw a map of Illinois just to pass the time. A corporal saw it and alerted the big shots. I'm guessing he thought he would gain the title of sergeant by this patriotic deed. However, this soldier had to appear before the commander of our boat and explain himself. They don't want any of us to draw maps because the Japs could see them. Of course, the Japs are free to go to any library and get books or maps. They told him not to make a map ever again, and then they said a lot of other baloney. I think it's this kind of foolishness that made Pearl Harbor possible. Instead of educating themselves about where the Japs are located, they spent time patrolling us to stop us from making any more maps. If the censor saw this letter, he would never let it go through the mail to you. We just passed a large school of fish jumping out of the water. They measured about 8 feet long, and I think there were 98 of them. Oh well, I might have missed a few, dear. We're getting closer to our part of Australia. I will have to close this tiny little letter. So long until... Kisses all for you. Love, Johnny Doughboy. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, arriving in Australia at last. Dad is happy they have landed in Australia. He worries about how long his letters might take to arrive in the States. He also tries to describe the Aussie money system. September 26, 1942. My dearest Mary, I arrived in this country at last. This was my first chance to write to you. All of us were very hungry when we landed. I guess it will take me a month to catch up on my eating. After a lot of explanations, we finally figure out a little information about their money. Here is how simple their money is. 1 shilling, 16 cents American money. 1 shilling, 12 pence Australian money. 1 pence equals 1 Australian penny. Half a pound equals 10 shillings, or $1.64 American money. An Aussie penny is like our 50-cent piece, and it is made of copper. If you are a brainstorming genius with a college degree, you can master the money. It's as clear as mud. It really is swell here. The cars here are different and old-fashioned. The trains are small and look like our 1909 model train. They travel forward and backward. The reason is there isn't any place to turn around. At times they go straight to one town and then backward to another town. At first, our truck driver startled people by going around corners at 30 miles per hour. The people there consider 6 miles per hour as fast-moving. Now everyone has to run across the street in fear of being hit by a car or a truck. They would think N13th Street in Manville, New Jersey is a superhighway. If you stood on a corner and counted the trucks passing by, you would find 15 out of 20 are American-owned and driven. When I go to a movie, I hear them laughing at silly things. This ends up making me laugh at them instead of laughing with them. I've been here for 1 month and I can see why Australia hasn't moved forward in the manufacturing field. The transportation and roads are really neglected. However, the cities are surprisingly modern and remind me of some of the medium-sized cities we have in New Jersey. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front in Australia, Dad is impressed with everyone as they are doing some kind of war work. He regales Mom with a fancy description of his new home, which he calls a swanky joint. September 28, 1942. Dear Mary, cigarettes are a luxury item to civilians because they cost a lot. Our soldiers, however, pay only 8 cents each with no tax at all. You can tell this country is involved in a war. Everyone is doing some kind of war work. We got busy making writing tables and chairs. We must work with very simple materials for Australia as in the war zone. It's so nice to have fresh water again without a ration. My new home is a very swanky joint. It's basically a tent and my bed is a cot filled with straw. All my gear is piled neatly on the floor. I tell you, people who live back home have it easy. If they heard and saw what I have witnessed so far, they would realize war is not easy. The people here have to give up a lot more luxuries to win this war. It's summer now, so any kind of clothing one wears is okay. Some soldiers complain no matter how their camp is set up. I guess it's natural for them to voice their opinion. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, getting acclimated in Australia. The Australian people are very thankful and appreciate the Americans because they have saved them from the Japs. He tells Mom about the mail status and he misses her a lot. September 30, 1942. Dear Mary, I have to write small and only on one side of the paper. These are the rules. Airmail stamps are hard to find around here, but I was lucky enough to get some. Sending letters by airmail is supposed to be faster than regular mail. Honey, I sure do miss you a lot and look forward to getting a letter from you soon. Rumors fly the minute you hit any camp. I've heard one over 100 that are probably not true. Everything is so different here. This country seems 40 years behind the US. The Australian people are grateful for us for we've saved them from the Japs. Women do all the men's work. They only get paid $6 a week. The latest time one can leave to go to stores is 5 p.m. Almost every store closes for the day promptly at 6 p.m. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, leading life in Australia, Dad still works on his dance skills. However, the Aussie style is quite different and he finds it confusing. It is also very hard to get around when the town is in a blackout. October 1, 1942. Dear Mary, I stopped at a dance in town but I couldn't dance because I had my Army 12-pound shoes on at the time. Their dances are so different. Most of the songs played are 10 years old. Their style of dancing is the old-fashioned waltz with a little Aussie added. A typical dance consists of 3 steps sideways, then slide, jitterbug a little, and you end with a quick step, including spinning and turning. It's quite confusing to me. The town is in a blackout, so when it's dark, one has to dodge people and cars to get around. When crossing streets, it's quite confusing. The reason is traffic comes from the opposite side of the road. There are many small cars, pocket-sized models. In Australia, When you say you're going up north, you find it warmer. The equator is north from this country. My guess is everything in Manville, New Jersey must be very quiet. Most of the young wolves are in the Army or Navy. I am very lucky to be in the Army Air Corps, and I feel it's the best place to serve our country. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, learning more about Australia. Dad knows Mom would be curious and want to know about the food being served. He goes into a lengthy description about food and how cheap it is to buy a typical meal. October 2, 1942. Dear Mary, one of my meals was steak, potatoes, and vegetables, along with a pint of milk. I was able to get it for 18 cents. What a bargain it was at the American Red Cross. The bread is just as good as our old-fashioned Polish homemade bread, and milk is even better. The beer is 2 times stronger than our beer back home, and it's also rationed. I got a big surprise when I weighed myself as I gained some weight. Scales cost 1 penny, and weight is shown in stones. A stone is 14 pounds. How complicated it is using this system. I've not seen a kangaroo yet, but I'm sure there will come a day when I'll be able to spot one. Australia does not make too many manufactured goods, so most of them are imported from England and the United States. This country isn't as populated as the United States, but it's very big. Palm trees grow here like in Florida. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, discovering Aussie people and customs. Dad is learning about people in Australia. He also gets a chance to talk to soldiers who have been involved in the war in Libya and Egypt. October 4, 1942. Dear Mary, I've heard from many soldiers who've been involved in the war in Libya and Egypt for 3 years. They tell me we are giving them hell in censor cutting. I don't know exactly what I can tell you, because a censor is always ready to cut out any type of information they consider classified. I will have to save stories for you and tell them to you after the war is over. I've made some friends, so we do have some fun together. All we do is eat, rest, and exercise. Sometimes you see a car with an attachment fly by the camp. It looks like an icebox, a furnace, a gas range, or a whiskey still. Apparently, it uses charcoal to fuel the engine. The children here quit school when they're 14 years old. They are allowed to go to college if they wish. There are many deferred men, mostly old guys who work on a farm or have government jobs. They trade wool for our goods. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront and Australia. The mail is currently out of sync, so V letters are rationed to 1 a week. Dad also informs Mom about the store windows, which are taped to protect them from bombs that might strike in their buildings. He says this also prevents the glass from shattering. October 6, 1942. Dear Mary, I'm still trying to get settled, so things are a little out of sync. The V letters or victory letters are rationed to 1 per week. I get a pass every other day to go to the city, so I'll be able to see more of it the next time I'm there. Most of the store windows are taped, so they are protected from any bombs that might strike them. The tape acts as protection from broken glass. Honey, I'm only 12 miles away from home. It's a mere 2 months of travel. This letter contained a lot of information, so I know it will take you a while to reply. So, hon, keep your chin up. So long for now. I'll be dreaming about you. Love, Johnny Air Corps. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, visiting the local city of Australia. Dad is able to go into the city using a trolley. He enjoys shows which cost only 18 cents. He notices how delayed the Aussies are when showing their pictures from the past. October 7, 1942. My dear Amy, I went to the city today and found all the stores closed. I did manage to sightsee a little bit before darkness came. I took the trolley, which only costs 2 cents to ride to anywhere. It reminds me of a trolley we had in my hometown when I was 4 years old. Then I went to a show costing only 18 cents called Tugboat Annie. I was very surprised when they showed us training on the beach back in early July. The parade shown was us marching for General Weaver. I saw our flag indicating what group was marching, but it was hard to recognize any of the faces as the scene moved by so fast. Since this activity dated back to July, It shows you how delayed the Aussies are in showing their pictures. I went to a dance for the second time in the city. The barn dance is not like ours at home. Both partners walk together as if they're strolling. The rest of the dance looked screwy. The music is old-fashioned, and the orchestra cannot start without stopping for a rest. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront exploring in Australia, Dad feels the Aussie babes are not very pretty compared to Mom's beauty. He tells Mom she's still his favorite dance partner. He follows this up with a funny story about arriving back to his tent after a night on the town. What is cream? October 10, 1942. Dear Mary, there are many babes, but their makeup is the work of an amateur. It's plastered all over their faces. They're nothing to admire, at least not as pretty as you. I had not danced for so long it felt funny. I saw girls wearing bracelets above their elbows. Every time one dances the jitterbug, the dance floor shakes. I still think our American girls are the best. You're still my favorite dance partner. My feet got tired quickly. No, I didn't drink too much beer to make me feel this way. The dames are quite sociable. They're curious and want to know everything about the US, so they ask a lot of questions. One night, I got back from town at midnight. I walk to my tent, and it's so dark I have to feel around for my bed. My hand feels my bed, but also some animal. I must have jumped about 3 feet. I was scared out of my wits. Then I remembered I am a US soldier, so I must be brave. I struck a match to get light, and there laying sound asleep on my bed were 2 dogs. They were very nice dogs with curly hair, so I pet their heads, and they jumped down and took off running. They keep coming back to pay us a visit. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom talks about her thoughts and her dad's comments regarding the war. October 11, 1942. Dear Johnny, it is a Sunday afternoon, and I'm sitting on the front lawn and taking great pleasure in answering your most recent letter. Even though it was a short one, the great comfort I felt was a cure for my sore eyes and heart. Daddy is fixing the cellar of our home, making it rainproof. What a mess it is. However, I'm glad he is doing it now before the winter weather comes. I'm glad there are no fellows calling upon us 3 girls at the present time. Sometimes Daddy makes us laugh when we talk about the war. He says, "My dear daughters, I'm so happy I have you 3 and no sons at this time. They would be ready to go far away and Mother and I would be worried." However, when we talk about fixing our home, he says, "Why couldn't one of you be a son to help me a little around the house?" He is as cream at times. My sisters want me to go with them to the dance at the Polish-American home because it is being held for the employees of the Deals Manufacturing Company where I work. I wish you were here to take me to the dance. If I stay home, I might feel worse. I give up, so I'll go and make believe you are next to me. Boy, is that tough. The dance was okay. Did you get my letter written in a round circle? Now I'll answer your questions. 1. Yes, dear, I'm feeling fine, and my family is as well. 2. The weather is lovely and couldn't be nicer. 3. I have written 2 letters to your brothers, and I plan to write to your folks. 4. You bet the single fellows have all gone into the service. 5. Your letters were censored, and a few words were missing, but I could read them. 6. Yes, Johnny, I miss you. Miss you. Miss you. I wish you were here. I'm still an inspector. However, now I was chosen to be a floor lady of our department. Maybe you can picture little me overseeing some of those big women and girls. I should feel bigger, and yet I don't feel any different. Love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, getting used to army life in Australia. Dad is hoping he will be lucky enough to see a kangaroo. He also tells Mom about some of the prices of food. Some of the boys go AWOL, and he describes what it means. October 12, 1942. Dear Mary, I still haven't seen a kangaroo. The Aussies seem to think us bloody Yankees scared them away from our camp. However, the Aussies are swell and ready to help us in any way they can. The only time we stop to salute the officers is when we see them with bundles in both hands. Saluting is not as strictly enforced as it was at home. One 10-cent fountain pen is worth $1.50 over here. Every day I buy a bottle of milk from the PX store, and it costs me only 6 cents a pint. We can get lots of beef, milk, and butter. Bacon is bacon in Aussie. I've also acquired an Australian accent of sorts. There is no electricity in our area. In order to press our clothes, we put them down flat under our mattress and sleep on them. Sometimes we use candles or flashlights. Most of the boys are trying to find an Aussie soldier who lives close to our camp. They are hoping one of them will have a bunch of pretty sisters. If they find this guy, he will quickly become the most popular one in camp. A few boys went AWOL for a couple of hours. This term has two meanings, namely, a wolf is on the loose or absent without leave. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, a sergeant assigns Dad to KP known as Kitchen Patrol, where he peels a lot of potatoes and is rewarded with cocoa. He sees how some of the guys are wasting their money on gambling. He is always hoping to get letter from Mom. October 14, 1942. Dear Mary, on my 5th day here, a sergeant said to me, Johnny, some soldiers have it and some soldiers don't, but you have it. When I asked, what do I have? He said, you have an opportunity to serve KP, otherwise known as Kitchen Patrol. This is my chance to peel a lot of potatoes and drink all the milk with cocoa that I wanted. Some of the guys are playing craps or dice in my tent. I have watched them play, but I have no desire to waste my money in a game. There is mail call every other day, so I hope to be getting more letters from you, my sweetie. It may take a long time for me to receive your letters, but I sure will appreciate getting them. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad is disappointed with the slow process of mail coming from the United States. October 16, 1942. My dearest Mary, I haven't received any mail from you lately. However, I'll continue to write to you anyway. I have enclosed a picture of a fellow you know quite well. I sure am glad that I'm stationed in a country where our language is spoken. There are many worse areas I could have been sent to serve. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, enjoying outdoor movies in Australia. Dad is very fortunate to be able to see free outdoor movies. Of course, the seating is good old Mother Earth. However, it is great entertainment for the troops. October 19, 1942. Dear Mary, I just got back from the free outdoor movie in our camp. The picture was a Yank in Libya. I had a seat in the lounge. Oh yes, right. A screen is strung between two trees, and we sit on good old Mother Earth. There's one movie camera, and about the time the wolf is ready to plant a solid kiss on the babe, the picture stops. An announcer says part 1 is finished, and part 2 will start in a few minutes. The pictures are very up to date. In one part, this wolf was trying to get his Eiffel to marry him. He says we can't go on an ocean trip. All of us hollered, join the army, we had our ocean trip. Our whole gang had the same idea and said it at the same time. Every time a kissing scene is shown, all the boys moan. It's so tough to see a scene like that because we are so far away from our sweethearts. Yes, I moaned the loudest. I got quite a kick out of the city in the daytime. Almost everybody carries a bag. Even the kids carry one on their backs. When I go back to my camp, I travel by tram. This is a trolley in Aussie language. The trams carry 112 people. The late one can fit about 200 soldiers. We hang all over the tram. It looks like a sardine can. Most of the time, we travel for free because the conductor is afraid to climb out to collect money from us. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, looking for kangaroos in Australia. Dad is told the kangaroos hide in the woods. There are also some things that are rationed even in the Pacific Ocean in Australia. October 21, 1942. Dear Mary, I understand the reason we haven't seen a kangaroo is because they hide in the woods. I bought a pair of Aussie shorts for 5 shillings, which is about 80 cents. A malted milk costs only 5 cents, and you are treated to 3 full glasses. Everyone is trying to sell something. I tried to sell my tent, but the guy wasn't drunk enough to take the bait. Matches are just as scarce as tires are back in the States. All shoes and clothing are rationed, and one must present a coupon to get them. I'm getting used to all the styles. Most of them are about 30 years behind the times. Some of the boys live in the city and get $3.50 a day for living expenses, plus the $60 a month the rest of us receive. A meal costs 18 cents, and a room only costs $2 per week. I hope we are assigned to a place like this. It would be quite a financial success. Everything is run by the government. Payday just passed, so we got paid with Australian currency. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad and his group are given the privilege of seeing a repairing center where they fix airplanes, jeeps, cars, and radios. He is also assigned other Army duties. October 23, 1942. Dear Mary, we went to another repairing center to check it out. This is where they fix airplanes, jeeps, cars, and radios. I know how to fix them all, but I haven't been assigned to one place yet. Today I was assigned guard duty. This duty was for 24 hours total. I stood guard 4 hours. Then I was off for 8 hours, and then I completed 4 more hours. My post was the main gate, and my duty was to check people's passes to town. Some of the boys tried to get by me by showing me a copy of the Air Corps song. Others showed me a picture of their girlfriend. You know me well enough to figure out none of these shortcuts worked. If a soldier falls asleep on guard duty, he could be fined a large sum of money, shot, or put in jail. I did manage to stay awake, but I was so sleepy. Our food is almost as good as home. However, we have no ice cream, although we can buy some at our PX store for only 18 cents a quart. People wear so many different uniforms over here. Speaking of Vmail, the word is that it's not very fast, but I will try it out anyway. The writing will be very small, so I'm not sure it will be easy to read. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Australia's climate is very similar to good old New Jersey in the summer. There are some funny stories Dad tells Mom about the rain and what happens to the tents. October 25, 1942. Dear Mary, the climate is very similar to good old New Jersey in the summertime. The only action I've experienced is when one of the tents blew down. It fell on top of some boys during a rainstorm. The reason this occurred is because they forgot to loosen the ropes on the outside of their tent. The rain causes the ropes to shrink, and the tent goes down. We brave boys rushed to the rescue and put the tent back on its track. You should have heard the laughter. Luckily, no one got hurt, and we had a good time except our feet got wet. We have a few mosquitoes at night, but we can fix them. The government issues each of us a net for this purpose. The mosquitoes would wait until we lay down and then dive bomb us from above. Despite everything I have told you, I'm doing fine. I'll never forget you, hon. Anything I do is because I love you and want you to do the same. I seem to be full of energy but no way to use it. If I heard a Polish hop and a lady from Manville would dance with me, I could use this extra energy. I guess I should end this letter so you can eat your Wheaties. Save all that extra energy for me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront experiencing a dance in Australia, Dad seeks out dances so he can keep his skills sharp. He provides a full description of the dance hall. He also talks about wildlife and a bird who is called a kookaburra bird. November 11, 1942. Dear Mary, I just returned from a dance in the city. The hall where it was held was very large, but it had an old method of air circulation. Big wings or flaps were hanging across the ceiling, and they would swing back and forth. It was motor-driven and seemed to work very efficiently, keeping the hall cool. When one walks into the hall, a doorman searches each person for bottles. It's quiet and peaceful, and they want to keep it that way. Almost all the homes have the same kind of roof. They are made of a sort of corrugated metal, or tin, so when there is a rainstorm, it sounds like Niagara Falls inside the home. While I was there, I enjoyed a steak dinner. The steak was so tender I could have cut it with a fork, but I had to use a knife on the gravy. I also had vegetables, ice cream, and a pint of milk for about 25 cents. The reason the food tastes so good is because it's seasoned. The army doesn't bother to season food. A typical Aussie weekday meal is fish heads and rice. As an added appetizer, fishtails accompany the meal on Sunday. I've gotten a chance to talk to guys who live deep in the heart of Texas. Apparently, it is still a very rough place. A shooting is an ordinary occurrence, and in some parts of Texas, there is no penalty given for it. We have a bird called Kookaburra bird. He's a cross in appearance to a pigeon, a canary, and a parrot. His voice sounds like a naughty hyena. One of them made power dives at me the other day. I guess I came too close to his apartment and his family. He had such a temper. One guy woke up and found a large bird in his mosquito net. These mosquito nets are really lifesavers. They're truly worth their weight in gold. They help to control our mosquito population. Our camp is overrun with dogs. Every time one of the boys spies a nice dog in the city, he just tucks him under his arm and brings him back to our camp. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom sends Dad a big package of goodies for Christmas. She also tells him his letters are censored, but she can still understand and read them with no problems. November 1, 1942. Dear Johnny, I want to thank you for those darling seashells beads you sent me. Your letters reached me in 9 days. I don't think it's bad timing for the war mail at the post office. Johnny, are my letters censored before you receive them? Your letters are censored with only a few words or a sentence cut out, but I can still read them. I sent you a box and I'm hoping you receive it by Christmas. Please let me know when you receive it and what condition the package arrives. The package should contain the following items: 1 pound box of Schrafft's candy, 1 dozen 6-can airmail stamps, a maroon portfolio with 24 envelopes, an Eversharp pen and pencil set, 2 funny books, 1/2 ink and pencil eraser, 1 bottle of Waterman's ink, a large tube of Menon shaving cream, a large can of Menon talcum powder, a toothbrush with floss holder and some writing paper, a large tube of Ipana toothpaste, a can of brown shoe polish, 2 packages of chewing gum, the kind we have now since rationing, 2 large white handkerchiefs. I hope you find these items useful and please let me know if you need anything else. The weather is getting so cold. I get up in the dark morning, work all day until 6 p.m., and it is getting dark again when I come home. It's quiet in the house for a change, so I can concentrate on writing to you. I feel fine, but I am getting sleepy. I better go and visit Dreamland where I hope I see you again. Love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, experiencing an amusing event in Australia. Many of the boys snore when they sleep. Dad jokes when he tells Mom what it sounds like in his tent. Rumors still float around the camp and become unbelievable. November 2, 1942. Dear Mary, you ought to hear some of the boys snoring when we return to camp late at night. It sounds like many prehistoric monsters or all the animals at the Bronx Zoo are camping out in our tent. One of the boys takes our Air Force parrot with him when he sleeps. He sounds like a P-47 bomber performing a power dive. Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Reveille is usually 5 a.m., so before I open my eyes, I dress on the run. I stand at attention and wait for my name to be called. I then scurry back to my tent to catch a few more winks until it's time for breakfast. One fellow told us he's going to tell the government that he didn't pay his income tax. He hopes this story will send him back to the States. We shall see how this tale will end. What a surprise I had when a guy walked up to me. He was my roommate in Fort Dix, New Jersey. His hometown is Red Bank, which is very close to my hometown. You ought to hear some of the rumors that float around the camp. One said the war is being fought all over the world. Then we heard one that said Hitler has dyed his mustache. Finally, the last one said Adolf was dead. They're known as bedside rumors. The anthills around here are about 10 feet high, and they are everywhere. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad hears many stories about the Aussies, Italians, and the Germans regarding how they feel about the war. He recants an amusing story about an experience some guys shared. November 4, 1942. Dear Mary, I was talking to an Aussie soldier who has fought in many battles. He told me that when they capture an Italian soldier, he is always happy to get out of the war. He will even pose for pictures. A German soldier is just the opposite. He would not only be unhappy, he would not be willing to pose for any pictures. The Italian and German prisoners have to be isolated from each other. They are such bitter enemies. If one finds them together in an area, a big fight is guaranteed to follow. There's some talk about making a formal protest to the Australian government because of the money situation. It seems that their paper money can't stand up under this strain of our dice games. The money wears out too quickly. By the way, I finally found a place where they play modern music. I try to go there just to keep my dancing skills sharp. I am able to go every day. I must tell you of an experience a few of the boys had to endure. They were put on shipping duty. This meant they were packing bundles into a truck. They all thought the actual front fighting zone was where they would be heading next. While they boarded the truck, it was thought, oh no, this is it. It turned out the truck stopped 2 blocks past the barracks area, and this was to be the final destination. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront discovering the mail situation in Australia, Dad is concerned because his letters must be transported by boat. This will slow down the whole process. However, he will remain diligent in writing love letters to Mom. November 6, 1942. Dear Mary, Honey, I know any mail sent to me will be slow in arriving. However, this is due to the fact that it is transported by boat. This will not make me stop writing to you, and I hope you continue to write to me, even if it is a short letter. My last goodbye to you leaves me dreaming of the day I will be able to say hello again in person to you. I know if I could steal a kiss or two and whisper something sweet in your ear, all my dreams would come true. Well, I guess this is enough of a note I have written to you. Give everyone my regards and take care of yourself. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad is looking forward to take some pictures of the scenery wherever he is stationed. He wants Mom to make sure he sends him more pictures of herself. November 8, 1942. Dearest Mary, hello, honey. I'm camped out so far away from any big town that it isn't even funny. However, with your help, I managed to stay in a happy frame of mind. I bought a camera and expect to have the time to take some pictures of the wonderful scenery out here. I'm hoping you'll be willing to hold on to them if I send them to you. If you haven't already sent me a picture of yourself, you could ask someone to take one of you just as you are. Could you ask someone to take one of you just as you are? Maybe I'll have to come back and take it myself. On second thought, I might just capture you instead, as that would be much better. Yeah, babe. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, experiencing the climate in Australia, Dad describes a startling weather experience to Mom. He talks about the creatures he has encountered around the barracks. November 10, 1942. Dear Mary, I just have to tell you about my startling experience over here. The weather was warm and sunny, about 89 degrees. All of a sudden, it turned cloudy and windy. The wind blew furiously and it started to rain. The next thing was it started to pour hailstones on me. At first glance, the hail appeared to be very small, about the size of marbles. Afterward, the hailstones grew to the size of baseballs. Some of these came down so fast they punctured the roof of the barracks. The barracks are typically made with very strong materials. Somehow these hail balls easily made holes in the ceiling. Even the ground was covered. We washed some of the hailstones and made ice water out of them. Finally, the hail ceased and the sun began to shine again. This caused the hail to melt. It seemed to get real warm afterwards, about 85 degrees. What's cruel weather? All around the barracks, we catch many strange creatures. One lizard we caught changes its color every time we move it to a new location. This is a gift from Mother Nature so the lizard can hide from his enemies. I've seen him turn green, blue, and yellow. He blushes red too. We have lots of dogs. One dog has strong teeth. He'll grab hold of a stick and we can lift him off the ground. He's able to hold his grip for 10 minutes. I wish I had teeth like his, so I could chew some of the tough beef we get served over here. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, watching gambling in Australia. Money is disappearing quickly as the boys are getting into gambling. Dad tells Mom some facts about the money situation and how confusing it can be to locate an army unit. November 12, 1942. Dear Mary, one of the boys was a bill collector. He says he would knock at the front door and then run onto the back door to catch people as they ran out. When a fellow pays us any money he owes using American money, we say stop trying to pass that foreign money around. You see, American money is a thing of the past around here. Lots of boys are suffering the disease called broken pocketbook. Luckily for all of us, a full up-to-date payment is becoming a fact. I'm able to go to town most days for I don't gamble my money. What tales I hear in the army, there are enough to write a big book. A half-pound note or paper money worth $1.63 seems to last about as long as our $1 bill back home. When we go to town, we take money for transportation and dinner. Our money is worth more here than in the States. The modern things one can buy for cheaper prices. Only the old-fashioned things are priced higher. The match shortage is pretty well cleared up now. A candle match is now being made. It's covered with wax and smells like a candle when lit. There are so many different units in the army. Even the average person gets confused when they try to locate one. Someday, maybe, they will combine some of the units into one, which could surely be more simplified. Every time we receive a shipment, we tell the Aussies we will meet them at the American Legion Convention. Chances are we will never see them anymore for the duration of the war. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, describing flies and people in Australia. Mom finds out how the flies identify their victims. Dad is enjoying hearing some of the guys singing when they are coming back drunk. The word bloody is taboo. November 14, 1942. My dearest Mary, you ought to see how well trained the flies are around here. First, they peek at our dog tags. These show our name, hometown, and blood type. They see our blood type, and then they dive bomb us. This just goes to show you how particular they are about us humans. It sounds very funny to hear a couple of Australian soldiers singing deep in the heart of Texas as they go walking, or rather staggering down the street. A Yank soldier can say almost anything to an Australian girl. When anybody says the word bloody, they get so burning mad and ready to fight. The meaning of the word is a mystery, and I can't seem to find out what it means. I even tried putting it in a sentence. I said, I cut my finger and it was so bloody. This statement even made them mad. So I give up. What a strange custom. I guess heaven will be full of Australian angels for they never say a bad word. Some of the hard drinks are as strong as paint remover. The boys never learn their lesson and sure get tipsy. I would rather eat my quart of ice cream and drink my quart of milk every day. By the way, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I hope to be home on your next one if it becomes possible. With all my love I remain, your Johnny for the next 100 years. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad realizes how far away he is from Mom in the States. He explains the many APO numbers used to identify one's location. He is not happy unless he hears from Mom. November 16, 1942. Dearest Mary, I just can't stop writing to you. All day long I keep hoping I'll be able to get back to my camp and spend an enjoyable evening writing to you, dear. The space between here and the United States separate us, but I'm still happy to sit down all by my lonesome and have a chat with you using the mail. The mail situation is frustrating because there are too many APO numbers to identify one's location. It seems everybody else is getting mail but not little Johnny. Woe is me. When the company clerk sorts the mail and I don't get any letters, I get mad. I say to him, "Are you holding out on me, you so-and-so?" He says, "I ain't holding out for anybody, Johnny, but you just didn't get anything." I walk away complaining to myself, thinking how sad I am because I haven't heard from my sweet gal Mary. This is something that depresses me more than Hitler's face. When I lie down at night, I think out loud. One of the boys says, "Why, Johnny, she's out walking with a 4F draft Dodger in the park." My heart goes topsy-turvy. I get hot and cold chills on my face. Then my blood curdles and races with my corpuscles. I eventually gather myself together and pull the covers over my head. I'm hoping I can see you in my dreams at the very least. Here I sit in the shade of my tent, stranded only 12,000 miles from Manville, New Jersey. I do have a great tan and 65 smackaroos in my hip pocket. I'm just jabbering to a couple of jeeps, but thinking about you keeps me happy. There's some talk that Turkey will have to be evacuated. This news item is because the Italian and German armies are running backwards. It could cause a riot and might hurt someone if they pass through Turkey on their way to get to the hiding place somewhere near Berlin. The report says the general started running backwards 3 days ago and only has a lead amounting to 3 blocks in Manville, New Jersey. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad is full of stories about jabs. Some are amusing and some are not. He also describes Thanksgiving dinner to Mom, but he would still like to enjoy a meal with her in person. November 17, 1942. Dear Mary, here's a little dope on the Jap Army. The second-class private gained his status because he lisps when he says Hirohito. The first-class private can actually see when he takes off his glasses. He won a prize for stealing pocketbooks from 85-year-old widows. The fellow who is the private excellence can say Hirohito without a lisp, and he likes to show off his buck teeth. He likes to chew the barroom rail with his teeth. The major of the cavalry is raging mad because his house was eaten by a bunch of infantrymen who got tired of eating rice. Finally, there's a general hanging by his mitts up a tree. He's looking through a pair of binoculars, and it seems he's scared as hell at what he can see through them. Well, I better shut my trap before I say something wrong. This letter was written by the same 1A who has a huge crush on you, and he doesn't care who in the world knows this information. Say hello to everybody and keep the light in the window burning for me. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, having Thanksgiving in Australia. Dad can't believe his eyes when he saw his Thanksgiving feast. All the boys miss their sweethearts and take comfort in the misery of each other as they discuss their girlfriends far into the night, and often until the wee hours of the early morning. November 19, 1942. My dearest darling, gosh, honey, today turned out to be a wonderful day for me. It's Thanksgiving and we had a swell dinner. We were able to eat all we wanted, and it was quite a feast. We had turkey, potatoes, beets, cabbage, peas, bread with jam, peaches, candy, ice cream, and pie. There was also beer, lemonade, and coffee. The only trouble was the fact that I couldn't have my favorite dessert. You know, the kind I used to moan at when I got it in the moonlight? Don't tell me you have forgotten about that. All the boys, including me, carry on a verbal discussion of each other's girlfriend far into the night, and sometimes until 3 a.m. If you feel your ear burning at times, it's me talking about you. Here's what happened to me when I received your last letter. While I was reading, I kept walking. My journey continued right past my tent and into the woods. The boys were watching me the whole time. Pretty soon I realized I was in the woods. All the boys laughed and said, "You sure got it bad, and she has you under her spell." Of course I was guilty, but I just smiled and kept my trap shut. Mary, darling, I miss you so much. Whenever I think about you, it makes me feel happy and yet blue because I can't see you in person. It seems like yesterday since I said goodbye. What a time I'd had that night. Now I wish I'd stayed longer. Maybe it was a good thing I left when I did, because you needed some sleep before your next day of work. I hope you all enjoyed your turkey dinner as well as I did. We have a lot to be thankful for right now. Well, I better close this little note until I find something else interesting to talk about. So long for now and take good care of yourself, darling. Love, Johnny. On Southwest Pacific Warfront, hearing good Army news in Australia. The fellows hear some good news about the war with American success on the African front. Dad indulges himself with his favorite dessert, which is ice cream. November 20, 1942. Dear Mary, I'm sitting in my camp thinking of you and writing this letter. The Army shortwave receiver is broadcasting from a California station. The good news of the Second Front says American soldiers have had success on the African front. We have also heard about more success on various other fronts. It's this kind of news we like to hear. The boys all have a big grin from ear to ear on their faces. There are many orchestras and other radio programs sent across to us over here. It sure makes us happy beyond words, but at the same time a little homesick. I have indulged myself with a pint of Peter's ice cream. It is the only company that makes ice cream in Aussieland. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, observing storks in Australia. Dad is amazed when he sees approximately 1,000 storks resting in one of the fields. He learned some Aussie phrases, and his gang adopt a baby kangaroo. November 21, 1942. Dearest Mary, most of these people have never seen snow in their lifetime. I miss it too. One of the fields has about 1,000 storks, just like the same models that deliver cute babies back in the States. I guess the stork decided to travel here for a rest. One thing I know for sure, and that is there is bound to be plenty of weddings when this war is over. When an Aussie asks if you have had your tea, he means have you had your lunch? I went to a lunchroom in town, and it was pretty late in the afternoon. As I was leaving, I heard the women say, "Toot, toot." I looked at her in amazement, wondering what she meant. Finally, I figured it must mean so long, big boy. Here's the latest underground rumor circulating now. The American airplane factories will not let anyone pass through as it distracts the attention of the workers. It costs the factory about $800 a person, with time lost while they're not working steadily. It sure is swell to be able to listen to a radio anytime we want to have a break. We are able to hear the hit parade as well as China, Russia, Italy, Hawaii, and Japan. We are closer to all these countries than the United States. You ought to see the baby kangaroo we have for a pet in our tent. He's only 7 inches tall. The mother kangaroo had been shot, so we took her baby out of her pouch. We feed our baby with an eyedropper, and he likes milk. He is very tame. Someday he might grow to be 3 feet tall. A mother kangaroo gives birth to 4 or 5 babies, but kills all but one of them. The pouch can only accommodate 1 passenger by regulation of kangaroo law. It's funny to see him try to walk. He puts his front legs down first, and then the back legs pass the front ones. It looks like a hop, but not a Polish hop. When I get more organized, I will send you a picture of him so you can see what he looks like. He sleeps in a little bag which we hang up for him. He always sleeps on his back all curled up like a rose. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, hearing lizard stories in Australia. Dad checks out some girls at a dance in the city. Australian soldiers who fought in the deserts of Libya tell the boys about their conversations with the lizards. November 23, 1942. Dearest Mary, while I was near a city, I went to a dance where I heard some of the unusual names the girls have here. One girl's name was Charm, and her sister's name was Melody. I've talked to a few Australian soldiers who have fought in the deserts of Libya. They say the first week you start talking to yourself. Then you start talking to the lizards. When 2 weeks have passed, the lizards start talking to you, and you find yourself listening to them. Another story I heard was in Africa, there is a tribe of natives who believe in a life for a life and a tooth for a tooth. If a native kills a man, his son must live with his mother until a child is born. Then he is punished by death or hard labor. If the man happens to be an orphan, I guess complications arise. I often wonder if I will run short of interesting subjects to write about. However, I think I have enough to last a long time. So dear Mary, remember that I love you dearly and continue to dream about you. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, talking with Australian people. Dad's feeling good and notices civilians admiring the American soldiers' dress uniforms. The Australian people are curious and want to know everything about the States. November 25, 1942. My dearest Mary, I'm feeling fine and dandy. I hope my gal and her family are the same. I haven't had my chat with General MacArthur yet. Most of the civilians think we are big shots when they see us dressed in our complete uniform. Our outfits are very colorful in comparison to the Aussie uniforms. When the Aussies find out you are from New York, they ask about gangsters. If they find out you're from California, they ask if you know any movie stars. Almost all of the Australian people want to visit America. Towns here are connected by trains made of wood instead of steel. Every chance I get, I'm practicing my dancing style. It's quite hard to get used to the Aussie style of dancing, but I managed to hold on to a babe and look a little like I'm dancing. All the gals are quite sociable, but one has to be careful when talking to them, because they are some gold diggers. An Aussie soldier might spend 90 cents on a girl. A Yank spends 3 times that amount. The gals also think Yanks are more of a playboy. The style here for a dancing couple is an evening dress for the gal, and the man wears a pair of shorts. If the man is smoking a cigarette, he is allowed to continue smoking while dancing. If he doesn't have 2 pence in his pocket to check his hat, he can wear it on the dance floor. We're now living in barracks, so we have electricity. When we lived in tents, we had to use candles for lights. I never thought I would ever get excited about a lamp. However, we are all anxiously waiting for darkness so we can use it. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, investigating beer in Australia. It seems the beer in Australia is much stronger than in the States. Dad is happy getting some mail from Mom. He hears some airplanes overhead and can't wait to fix them. November 26, 1942. Dearest Mary, the beer is very strong here, so it's nothing to see a drunken bum being slugged and dragged away. As for the U.S. soldiers, there is a strict rule that says no hard drinks, including beer after 6 p.m. I've discovered the fact that about 90% of the Australian people have bad teeth. Apparently, the drinking water does not contain an important mineral. The dentist must be pretty busy pulling one tooth after another. We have mail call every day, so we get a few letters every time a boat or plane arrives. Pardon me while I slug a heckler with a big mouth in my barracks. He insists on saying, "Why does she still love you?" Or, "Does she have a sister, and what is her address?" Or, "What kind of girl can she be, and will she cook and perform sex acts as well?" I don't like anyone who talks foolishly about my gal or any other gal. It feels good to hear a few airplanes overhead once in a while. I can't wait until I get to work on them. I was able to go horseback riding today. It costs 2 shillings an hour, which is about 33 cents. The horse was not as fast as the one the Lone Ranger rides, but he wasn't too slow either. I'm a bit sore, so today I will only stand and try not to sit down. I guess I will have to sleep on my stomach. My bed is my office, table, dining room, kitchen, etc. I can always depend on it to be there for me. What a pal. Each morning I take a cold shower, which helps me to open my eyes and wake up. The American Red Cross is swell to us. They allow us to take a hot shower, and they provide free towels. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, hearing about transfers in Australia. Dad says a few of his friends are transferred to a squadron every day. Again, he tells Mom about the food. He adds some Australian tales from the past. November 30, 1942. Dearest Mary, every day a few more of my friends are transferred to a squadron. As of today, I'm a filler or a reserve, and I haven't been assigned to a squadron. When I do get assigned, I hope to travel in a transport plane. If one has to rely on a train, it becomes quite an ordeal. The trains only travel about 35 miles per hour, so it's a long trip. This country is strictly a tea country. This soldier would love a good cup of coffee, some flapjacks or some French toast with syrup or honey. We eat some meat, but everything seems to taste differently over here. We go on 10-mile hikes almost every day to keep in shape. You see, Wheaties are not sold in the stores, and spinach has not been invented yet. I usually get a pass to visit the big city every other day. We don't care if it's dark, for we take along some necessary supplies with us. These would be a bulletproof vest, Tommy gun, compass, and a book on how to win friends and influence people. The PX store downtown is my favorite spot to hang around and see what goods are being sold. I also checked to see anyone I might have known from back home. I heard when the first group of Negroes arrived in Australia, they told the girls they were American Indians. This tale was easy to believe, but only for the light-skinned boys. I sure do miss hearing a radio, for there isn't any around here except at the American Red Cross building. The wavelength is different in Australia, so an American radio would have to be coil rewound in order to tune into American stations. We have a possibility of a chance to acquire a radio setup soon, which would be a great cure for our loneliness. Love, your Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey. Mom tells Dad her town is becoming a ladies' town because so many men have been drafted and sent overseas. December 5, 1942. Dear Johnny, you should see this little town of Manville. It's getting to be a regular ladies' town because many men have been drafted and sent overseas. When I do go dancing at the Polish-American home, there seems to be enough young sprouts to dance. They are between the ages of 18 to 20 years old. My sister Jeannie and I have fun with them. Here is a poem for you. Soldier boy, I love you so, and I want the world to know. Though you're in the army now, I make this vow. I'll wait for you though it may be long, you know. Still you are my only beau, and you're the one worth waiting for, 'cause you're the boy that I adore. And when you're far across the sea, soldier boy, please think of me, and the lovely hours we spent. The love we shared was ours alone. I don't know if you'll return, dear. Makes no difference how or when, dear, just as long as you return to a heart that's yours alone. Love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, hearing news from the States and Australia. The poor army boys in the States are complaining about passes. Dad is not sympathetic, for the guys overseas have it rougher. Dad tells another funny story about the guys in his tent. He's bragging to Mom about how the guys harmonize when they sing. December 12, 1942. Dearest Mary, I've just heard from a reliable source that there was quite a commotion back home. The news is, the poor army boys get to attend only 2 USO dances a week and get only 14-day furloughs instead of 15 days. The weekend passes were cut to 23 hours versus 24 hours. My, aren't things getting tough for the army boys back in the US. Wait until they are sent here where there are no weekend passes. The USO dances aren't free, and we are lucky if we get a clean shear once a month. We are also missing ice cream and cake, but we get plenty of beef and mutton. Once in a while we must be present for bed check. One of the leaders comes into the barracks to make sure we're all here. One of the boys waited until the leader was leaving us and said, "Good night, Mother." Boy, did we have a good laugh. There are lots of orders given out that seem useless, but still must be obeyed without question. That's the army way. What a swell bunch of fellows we are privileged to have in our barracks. They are full of fun, and we get along better than any place I have been stationed in the past. You ought to hear how well we harmonize when we sing songs. It reminds me of a barbershop quartet. We have a bunch of bathtub tenors and bass frogs combined into one symphonic splendor. Singing together boosts our morale. Of course, I would still love to be at a dance with you, sweetheart. Hearing an orchestra playing music and dancing cheek to cheek. I guess I can only visualize this in my dreams for the time being. I better close for now. Give my best wishes to everyone back home and keep a smile on your face for me. Your soldier boy, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, mastering army life in Australia. The mail is so far behind that Dad has not heard from Mom since September 2, 1942. He is adjusting to his work duties and impressed with the skills he's learned. December 14, 1942. My dear sweet Mary, I haven't heard from you since September 2, 1942. I miss you very much. My health is okay, but I don't feel chipper because I need a dose of sweet letters. This would greatly cheer me up. Worse than that is most of my friends are getting mail. Darn it. I know you're writing to me, but my mail must be held up at all the APO numbers I've had since I entered the army. As if this isn't enough to be depressing. The other day our little kangaroo died for no apparent reason. We will miss our sweet little pet. Another day has passed, but it doesn't make any difference to me. This shows you that money doesn't heal the heart's desires. I sure miss you, honey, and good old New Jersey. I must have 7 wedding invitations waiting for me when this war is finally over. Presently, I have no place to go, so I must be content to stay in camp. My workday starts at 8 a.m. and continues until 5:30 p.m. I usually work 6.5 days a week. After showering and eating dinner, it's almost 8 p.m. I can still remember coming to your house and starting my evening at 8 p.m. Also, those long 3-hour goodbyes we had together were the best. Here are a few startling things I've learned during the past 5 months. I have mastered the proper way to tie my apron. I found out I could be more patient while waiting for my meals if I sing the Army Air Corps song. I also discovered I'm capable of washing and pressing my clothes all by myself. I use the ultra-modern method of placing them under my mattress and sleeping on them. Finally, I learned how to peel onions, potatoes, pumpkin, and squash without cutting off my fingers. Have you changed your looks or hairdo? How are things in general with you and your family? I still think absence makes the heart grow fonder. Darling, I miss you so much, and I'll never stop writing to you until I can see you in person. Our meeting was just like a fairy tale. Boy meets girl, boy dates girl, and finds out he's deeply in love. 2 things I'll have to share with you when I return home. I want to take you swimming and check out your curves in a bathing suit, either in summer or winter. Asbury Park, New Jersey has a nice indoor swimming pool. The second thing is I would like to take you to Meadowbrook Hall in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, and dance the night away to a big orchestra. Finally, I would take you on a ride and spend at least 2 or 3 hours kissing and hugging you before I would have to say goodnight. Love, Private Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad's feeling lonely and truly misses his sweetheart. He hates to get up so early. However, that is the Army way. He is losing patience waiting for the mail from Mom. December 15, 1942. Hello, my dear. Here I sit all alone for all the boys went to a movie. I start thinking about you-know-who. You, of course. So I grab a pen and start scratching. You can tell it's me if you take a close gander at my attempted bit of pen pushing. I hope you miss me as much as I do you. It is 1900, which is Army time for 7 p.m. You see, sweetheart, there are 24 hours in an Army day, but time seems to drag. Waiting for the mail makes me feel like an expectant father. I'm speaking from hearsay, not experience. Sometimes I just can't see why mail takes so long. On the other hand, I realize I'm not the only soldier boy in the Army writing to his honey and waiting for a reply. I often wonder how I will feel in a pair of civilian clothes. It will probably make me feel the way I did when I got my first big boy pair of long pants and a suit jacket. I find the worst time in the Army is the first 10 minutes of each morning. Oh, how I hate to get up. The best time is when we have mail call, and I'm lucky enough to get some fan mail. I live through my letters just as if you were beside me. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, customizing his tent in Australia. Dad is proud of the tent he's sharing with 3 other guys because it is the only one in camp with a wooden floor built by the guys. He tells Mom about telegrams and his latest dreams. December 16, 1942. My dearest Mary, we consider our tent to be of modern design. Yes, I say this because it is the only one in camp with a floor made out of wood. The top sergeant lives in it, the second sergeant, a corporal, and that great lover with a big last name. Me, of course. I hope Uncle Sammy didn't wait too long to tell you and my mom where I have been sent. We are now able to send a telegram for 40 cents with 3 lines. These lines are already written and numbered, so I can select the proper ones. I believe the civilians back home can also use this kind of telegram. I received a letter dated December 12 telling me my brother, Walter, had joined the Navy. Boy, was I surprised. My mother is probably upset because she isn't used to having all of us boys away from her at the same time. I sent her and Pop a telegram, plus a little financial assistance, so I hope this cheered her up. I also sent you a telegram, dear. I hope you receive it. I plan to write to you at least twice a week. My folks will also hear from me just as often. I can send telegrams every 15 days, so no one will worry about me. I'm safe and sound. I don't drink Australian Mountain Dew, so I always have control of my senses. The place where I'm living now is very safe, and we're kept aware of the war news at all times. I know you think I have forgotten you, dear, but as you plainly see, I haven't. There will always be a hollow feeling inside me, and you're the only person in this world that can fill it and make me feel whole again. It's definitely you, hon. As I have said before, you were always good medicine for me. In my latest dream, I had a date planned with you, and on my way to your house, my car broke down. I knew I'd be late, get my hands and clothes dirty, and feel blue as well. However, when I drove up in front of your house and saw you, I became a different person. You changed my mood from dull blue to bright yellow sunshine. It was that Sunday that I realized my love for you was not my imagination. It was the real thing. I must end this letter. Say hello to everybody and keep your chin up. You are 1A in my A1 heart, so keep smiling. I will do my best to picture you that way in my mind. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, working in Australia, Dad has become an expert at washing and peeling potatoes. He also washes pots and pans at KP. Mom wrote Dad a circular letter, which was quite unique. December 18, 1942. My dearest Mary, I'm sitting here resting after having my turn on KP, otherwise known as Kitchen Patrol. I decided to cheer myself up, so I started writing to you. My dishpan hands are clutching this fountain pen like a mom holds her baby, so gentle and yet firm. My contribution to the war effort was washing and peeling a big pot of potatoes, including a lot of pots and pans that were used to cook them. I did such a good job, the mess sergeant asked me if I wanted to be a KP pusher. In the States, they give you stripes for this job. However, none of that for me. As of the above date, I have only received your letter written in a circle but no others. As you can see, this hasn't stopped me from scribbling. I spent half of last night tossing and turning. I just couldn't fall asleep because I had so many thoughts of you racing through my mind. I could remember our dates as if they happened last week. I was visualizing myself sitting in a movie with you holding your hand. I saw tears in your eyes when the story got tense or a little sad. It was then I knew you had feelings and a kind heart. No, don't misunderstand me. I always knew you had a kind heart. Anyone can see this the moment you appear. It's in your smile as well as the way you look at me. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, the mail situation continues to be impossible, and all the guys are sick of waiting for their mail from the States. Dad is thinking about the adventures he has had so far. December 21, 1942. Dearest Mary, I always hear a lot of rumors around the camp. Most of them turn out to be false. If I find out any true information, I'll be sure to let you know. The sky is beautiful here at night, and I wish you could be there to share it with me. Now I know how Robinson Crusoe felt when he had his adventures. This world can be wonderful. I never took the time to sit down and think about it. It took a girl like you to wake me up from my blindness. You showed me what true happiness is without even trying. I do realize that life has its ups and downs, so I'm prepared for both of them. In a few days, I hope to be able to send you some pictures of myself. If you can just keep checking your mail, you should receive them. I'm hoping they don't scare you or your friends. I think I have spent a lot of time repeating some things I have said to you before, but maybe using different words. I'll stop now and try not to talk so serious. If my APO number changes, I will let you know the change of address by telegram. This might help the mail to find my location quicker. At the present time, my mail has to travel through 4 APO locations, which results in a lot of confusion and delays. During the day, I'm kept pretty busy. However, I spend most of my evenings writing to Mom and Pop, as well as Mary Redgick, my sweetheart. I never knew I would ever want to do so much writing. Honestly, I enjoy it because it makes me feel more connected to my family and to you, of course. I know I wrote a lot in this letter. However, there are plenty of things I still want to say to you. I will save some news for my next letter. I'm hoping and praying I will get a letter from you before the week is over. Keep up your spirit, and may God watch over you and your family. Consider yourself kissed 100 times by me. With oceans of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, wishing for winter in Australia. Dad's getting stronger all the time thanks to the Army Air Corps regiment of food, rest, and plenty of exercise. He must be content hearing sweet love songs on an old phonograph. However, this makes him miss Mom even more. December 23, 1942. Dearest Mary, I am in the nice heat of the day in camp while you are probably freezing back home. I wish I was there to warm you up. Woohoo! Snow must be wonderful and I miss it. Darn it. I won't be able to have a snowball fight with you or wash your face in the snow. My health is great thanks to the Army's regiment of food, rest, and plenty of exercise. I feel better and stronger than I ever have in the past. I'm keeping steady company with the lizards, kangaroos, and wide open spaces. Tell me, honey, are you as pretty as ever? My guess is wow and how. I can hear the boys playing our old phonograph. They're playing sweet love songs while love-starved wolves sit and stare into space daydreaming. I'm somewhere in Australia where the nights are made for love. However, my sweet Mary is nowhere in sight. She is 13,000 miles away. Boo-hoo. Letters have come but no letter from my Mary. I've made so many trips to the post office that I've just about carved a path from my apartment to it. Sometimes I go 4 times a day just to make sure. You probably think I'm not able to write anything because of the censor. Actually, I can tell you anything except where I am located in Australia and the work I'm doing for the war effort. We're all wishing for a fresh pack of good chewing gum. However, there is none in sight. Yesterday, we had free beer to cheer us up. We are allowed to drink 2 glasses per person. I feel very lucky to be alive considering the state of happenings at the present time. I could very well have been one of those unfortunate boys who have died fighting for their country. Tojo is busy searching for a glass-bottom boat so he can give his fleet an inspection. We continue to make him regret the attack on Pearl Harbor. I'm hoping to get a chance to see the Hawaiian Islands and try to find his address there. With love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, observing the wildlife in Australia. The boys have adopted a baby panda bear. They are enjoying taking care of him. Dad also describes all the other wild creatures he has seen to Mom. December 24, 1942. Dearest Mary, one of the boys here has a baby panda bear with nice fur on him. He acts just like a human, so Darwin's theory of evolution might be correct after all. This bear is small and the only thing he eats is bark from a tree. That is very common around these parts. He sleeps in the daytime and goes courting and wooing at night. In fact, he leads a very lively nightlife. I sure miss my nightlife with you, honey. We have quite a few downpours of rain here. It seems to come only at night. The only casualties I've seen so far has been these big ants which are so plentiful around the camp. They are afraid of the little ants, so they scurry quickly away. A few of them get caught running the wrong way up a one-way street. After they are caught, they become dinner for the little ants. Ants are supposed to be considered the second smartest insect in the world. Bees are the smartest. I spied a pineapple tree and decided to go and pick some pineapples. I walked a little close to a tree and guess what was staring at me in the face? Bees. I ran like hell in the other direction. We found out there are many strange animals out in the woods. One is a flying fox or large bat that looks like a fox with wings. We came across a twig hopper that looks like a piece of wood with legs on it. The birds are quite fascinating to watch, and we take pleasure in all their colors and appreciate all the species. I do miss a lot of things from back in the good old US, especially you, dear. Christmas is just around the corner, and how I hoped I'd be home to spend it with you and my folks. I would make sure Santa Claus was able to take care of you in the proper manner. In Australia, it's very hard to find something special or nice for one's favorite armful as everything is imported. There really isn't anything that is suitable. In closing, I hope you and your family have a nice white Christmas. My hope is that everything is honky-dory at home and everyone is in good health. I hope I hear from you soon. With lots of love and kisses, Lonesome Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom and her family are celebrating Christmas, but it is not the same because she is missing Dad. However, she continues to write to him and loves to read his replies. December 25, 1942. Dear Johnny, today is Christmas Day. It used to mean so much to me. However, since the war took you and all my cousins away, it seems like just another day. Of course, we do have a Christmas tree, nuts and candy, but it just feels like I'm in a daze. I'm so disappointed to hear you have not received any letters since September 1. Believe me when I say I sent you a letter every week, and I always put a 6-cent airmail stamp on it. I think I will try to send this letter as registered mail. I sure hope you get it quicker. I also enclosed a card as well, and it is straight from my heart to yours with my deepest feelings. I mean it when I say I miss you, dear, so very much. I'm sending you a large photo of myself and some wallet-sized snapshots. I want you to know I will keep on writing and praying my letters reach you in a better order. Thank you for the beautiful handkerchiefs you sent to me. I'm keeping all my gifts, letters, and poems. Johnny, please take care of yourself as best as you can manage. By the way, everyone in my family is fine. They always want me to tell them how you are and believe me when I say you are truly loved. Your little Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, celebrating Christmas in Australia. Dad says the only good thing about Christmas Day is the fact that he did not have to get up early in the morning. While he found it hard to get into the Christmas spirit, he tried to make the best of it. Then he tells Mom about driving in Australia. December 25, 1942. My dearest Mary, today is Christmas Day, and for the first time in my Army career, I didn't have to get up at the crack of dawn. I took advantage of this privilege and slept all morning. I was able to attend midnight mass in a Catholic church a few miles away from camp. It sure feels strange having Christmas so far away from home. The Red Cross did their best to treat us, giving each one of us a package containing candy, cake, cigarettes, a sewing kit, etc. I still found it hard to get into the Christmas spirit. If he had only sent me a pine tree and a snowball, it would have helped a lot. I thought of hanging up a stocking, but it would have been filled with a few frogs, a lizard, or a baby kangaroo in it. Christmas will not be enjoyable until I am able to come home and spend it with you, my sweet one. Take care and please wish your Mom and Pop a happy holiday as well as the rest of your family. Your loving Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom receives a bouquet of red roses from Dad for her birthday. December 27, 1942. Dear Johnny, I received your telegram yesterday stating you received my first letter in 3 months. Oh, Johnny dear, I am so glad you're beginning to receive my letters. I can't imagine where all my other letters were sent. I don't want you to think I'm not going to write to you anymore. Rest assured that will never happen. You never know. When my letters start arriving, you might get one every day. Dear, I have received your darling roses. I am thanking you for them with tears in my eyes. I couldn't have been more surprised, thinking about you so many miles away, and yet you remembered me and my birthday. I wish you were here so I could kiss you. Your little Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, indulging himself in Australia, Dad is in ice cream heaven and decides to eat 3 quarts of ice cream. Dad is happy to hear Mom say she got a dozen red roses from him for her birthday. December 27, 1942. Dearest Mary, I had KP the day before Christmas, and I enjoyed eating my favorite snack, which was 3 quarts of ice cream. While I was on duty, I came to a startling conclusion. It turned out to be why we had to get our milk from a long distance away. They can't seem to catch the cows around here to milk them. The horses are so wild, they need their front teeth tied together on a short rope. This enables people to catch them and use them when they want to perform some duty. My boss wrote to me saying he did take care of sending you a dozen red roses from me for your birthday. I wanted you to think I had forgotten your birthday, then it would be a nice surprise. I bet you thought to yourself, what kind of guy is this Johnny anyway? He sure is handing me a snow job. This means a big line or some baloney. He didn't even remember my birthday. He must not love me as much as he says he does. How could you think anything different? Hun, if the roses got to you later, I hope you realize I was thinking of you and couldn't have forgotten your special day. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, a lot of the boys in camp are waiting for Christmas packages from home. At the rate the mail is delivered, it might be February before they receive any of them. Dad continues to send Mom pictures of the scenery. He wants to make an album to show his friends and future children what war conditions existed during World War II. December 29, 1942. My dearest Mary, quite a few of the boys are waiting for packages from home. The only thing some of them got was a bunch of old hometown newspapers. Most of them would rather not receive or read a newspaper. The reason is because of what you see on the front page. It's usually someone you know who entered the army about 5 months after you joined. Now he's a corporal, sergeant, or staff sergeant having a 14-day furlough. It seems almost everyone who is in the army in the States gets some kind of rank. Enclosed are a few pictures of some of the scenery around here. They say it grows on you after you live here for a while. Speaking of pictures, I have in front of me your lovely face staring at me. I tried hiding your picture thinking it might be easier on me that way. However, it didn't work, so I hung it by my bed so I can gaze at it all the time. I took a few other pictures which are being developed. They take so long for they don't seem to believe in speeding them along. I don't remember if I wrote a date on my other letter, but it was a few days before Christmas. I just stopped writing so I could eat my Christmas dinner. What a meal! We enjoyed a 12-course meal. The main dish was turkey, peas and carrots, beans, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, fruit salad, mashed potatoes, sardines, squash, ketchup, grape juice, beer, hard candy, and bread with butter and jam. Some of the boys tried to get me tipsy, but it didn't work. I can't see myself getting drunk on the 3 beers I usually consume. I always said I would need a good reason to get drunk. I have not seen or found any, so I'll stay sober for now. With love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Australia, Dad has finally received some pictures from home which had been mailed on September 17, 1942. He has been showing off with pictures of Mom by letting some of his friends see them. December 30, 1942. My dearest Mary, I received some pictures from home which had been mailed on September 17. They finally reached me now. I can only imagine what other mail is hiding away in some post office and has not been delivered to me yet. Now I have quite a few pictures of everybody back home. My dear mother looks pretty happy under the circumstances. When I look at the pictures of myself as I am now, I think I have changed in appearance quite a lot. Whether or not it's for the better or worse will be for you to decide, hon. While I'm writing this letter, you must be enjoying your Christmas dinner at home. Mary, do you remember those pictures we took together? I sent all of them to you. Naturally, I showed them to the boys. There were some that showed you holding your nephew, baby Eddie, so the boys were a little confused. They looked at me funny and said, "You always told us you're single and have no children. Here we see your girlfriend holding a baby." The matter was cleared up after I answered all their questions. I had been worried about these pictures because I thought they got lost in transit when I was moving around a lot. I can see why I just can't resist you. I remember letting out a big sigh of happiness after I kissed you. Remember that? I better stop this talk before I get too sentimental and spoil this letter. Every time I look at one of those pictures, I think of something else to say to you. One of my friends just received a box of real, honest-to-goodness American chewing gum, so I'm chewing my head off. Yum, yum. Due to the fact that Australia has no snow, Santa Claus had to resort to using a kangaroo instead of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and his friends. He wanted to make sure all the children were not forgotten in Ozzyland. His pouch was used to hold the gifts. Yes, I still believe in Santa Claus. Your loving Johnny.